Hey everybody, we're supposedly live right now. Can you guys confirm that for me real quick? How can you hear me? Am I coming through clear visually, etc., etc.? And as we wait for it to catch up. Oh, I have to watch an ad. YouTubers, man, they all they care about is the ads. It's crazy. No. All right. Okay, now I see myself. A little bit of confirmation, please, if you guys don't mind. Confirmed, sounds fine. All right, okay, cool. All right, so we'll wait for people to show up in here. But yeah, so here's what's going on tonight, everybody. It's been a while since I was able to do my own live stream at home because I'm never here, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But yeah, one bit of warning in advance, and I apologize for this. My internet has been unstable as of late, so if at any time it craps out, I'm sorry. I will do my best to come back if it's an option. And hopefully it just doesn't happen is basically what I'm going for. So if it does, I'm asking you guys to do me a solid and just kind of pay attention and be like, tell other people like, hey, if he vanishes for a bit, it's because of that. So just kind of give me a heads up on that. So the next thing is there's going to be a contest tonight, which is from Castlemania Games. You guys, if you check out my Twitter right now, there's a link in the description to my Twitter. Although I guess, sorry, I'm not as prepared as I should have been. Am I? I should make a link directly to this specific tweet. Point is, I'm trying to give you guys free stuff. Free stuff, right? Everybody likes free stuff. I'm trying to hook you guys up with some free stuff. So just bear with me for a second, so I can make sure that that is all set. You guys can win free stuff. I'm a man. I can't multitask. Okay, so let me go ahead and add that. Twitter giveaway. Yes, my loud ass keyboard. I know you guys love it. Okay, refresh. Sorry, guys. Refresh the stream, and you will see you'll see a tweet from me that says something about like Twitter giveaway. So that has all the information. Basically, Castlemania Games was cool enough to donate 5 Sega Genesis USB controllers. And to win them, all you have to do is follow me and follow him and then retweet that tweet. And you're officially entered. And then the 5 winners will be contacted later. It's entirely possible other surprises may happen. We'll see. I don't know. You know how these things are. They just kind of happen out of nowhere. And as always, if you guys are interested, I do take donations. I do appreciate that, especially a lot. As I take them through PayPal. There's information on that in the description, and then there's super chats. It's not a requirement. It's just appreciated. Especially because here's my little bit of, I guess, breaking news. I've mentioned in the past that I've been working with other channels. I'm now going solo. I am no longer working with Game Society Pimps. Machinima obviously no longer exists, and I'm not really doing anything with Blame Society Films either. So I'm operating solo, so appreciate the support, guys. Much appreciated. But now, with that said, international shipping is available. Ships worldwide, so you guys don't have to worry about that. Anybody's eligible. So let's do some questions, guys. Let's do some questions. Who's got what? How did Rerez like his Kit Kats? I'm sure he loved them. Actually, you know, it's funny. After that stream, we went back to his house, and I just watched him and his wife just like eat like half of them. And they loved almost all of them, except for there was one that was like butter, like literally butter flavored. And they said that like I thought maybe it would be like a butter cookie or something. No, it was just straight. It just tastes like a fucking block of butter. And they said it was like awful. So I was like, oops, sorry. So you never know. Am I Jewish? No, I am not. I am not religious at all. What happened with GSP? No, we just kind of, you know, there were multiple reasons that I'm no longer there. We kind of had a falling out, to an extent, but it's very amicable. I wish them all the best on their pursuits. I'm pursuing my own things, and you know, because I was constantly working with so many other entities, there were certain conflicts there, and it was just kind of agreed upon that, you know, it might just be best to go our own ways. So I do support them in that sense. I wish them the best, and hope you guys continue to watch their content as well as mine. You got that t-shirt in Japan. It's got Japanese on it. Actually, I got this at a Walmart in Michigan. Red Calc Z super chats. Hey Adam, do you have any thoughts on the upcoming Sonic film? First of all, thank you for the super chat. Always appreciate those, especially as of late. You guys can do that at any time if you want. Dollar symbol below. There's also the join button, and then of course PayPal. Preferred method is PayPal, but anything you want. And the only thing I can really give you back from that is just instant answering of your question, other than explaining the whole process there. As for the Sonic film, the world really didn't need a Sonic movie. Like, I never felt that was necessary. I have no idea what that story is going to be. I can't imagine that's going to be any good. And I love Sega. They might even show up in the stream. They've done that before. But I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I don't know why that thing needed to exist. Maybe it'll surprise us. I mean, there's a very low bar for Sega films. The only other one that I'm even aware of is House of the Dead, which is a terrible, unwatchable film, but I still have a soft spot in my heart for it because it's just so bad that it's like amazing, kind of like on that The Room level, but not quite that extreme. But the Sonic movie, like, am I going to see that in theaters? Probably not. Will I probably check it out on like DVD or Blu-ray or Netflix or something? Yeah, maybe, out of morbid curiosity, but beyond that, I don't know. Like, I'll see the trailer, but I don't know. I just don't see why that needed to be a thing. That's all. Thank you very much, Red Calx, for the super chat. Rob Janos also super chats. Red vans suck. Love from New Jersey. Rob, you confuse me. Rob actually and I were hanging out like literally yesterday. I got back from New York yesterday. I was there the day before to do a podcast with Kareem Jovian. Big YouTuber, like really big YouTuber. 1.8 million subscribers, like absolutely has me demolished. And he contacted me and was just like, hey man, you want to come out to New York? Like, you can be on my podcast. And I was like, all right. So I went out there and it was a lot of fun, and he invited me back. We filmed at the YouTube space in New York. It was really, really cool. And then, afterward I got to just chill with Rob for like a day, and then Rob was cool enough to let me crash at his place. So, and he even drove me to the airport, and he picked me up from the airport. Rob's the man. Thank you very much, Rob. Yeah. And then, man, so I flew from Newark to Boston to change planes, and I did the shortest transfer of my life. The thumbnail of this video is the only photographic proof I was even in Boston, because I landed, got off walked off up the jetway, and they were already boarding my connecting flight, which was the jetway next to it. So there was enough of time to run over to the absolute nearest like convenience store thing, find some kitschy thing, take a photo, and be like, I was in Boston. Okay, bye. And then run onto the plane and make my next flight home. So I'm home for today, and then tomorrow I go back to San Francisco. So always all over the place. But yeah. Anyway, did you see that video that John Hancock had his complete Sega Saturn collection? No. Congratulations to him if that's the case. I'm going to be seeing him really soon. He and I are going to be guests. Well, Cowlitz convention gamers. It's a Cowlitz Gamers for Kids convention. There's going to be myself. I'm going to be there as a guest. He's going to be there. Most of the Metal Jesus Rocks crew will be there. If you're anywhere in like the Portland or Seattle area, come on out to Cowlitz, Washington. It's for a really good cause, and there's also going to be some like giveaways. I talked the M Cable people into going, so there's going to be M Cables on site. There's going to be Castlevania Games will be there. He'll have stuff. And they're going to give away. I know that the M Cable people, Marseille Inc., are going to be giving away a TV there, as well as some M Cables and stuff. So you guys should check that out if you have the chance, because that should be a lot of fun. Anyway, so thank you guys for the super chats. What am I thinking of the Shenmue 3 footage so far? It looks pretty good to me. I mean, Shenmue 3 has the exact same problem that Shenmue 1 and 2 had, which was that it's a game that you can't really very easily present to people. So if you notice that trailer, almost all of it is cutscene footage, because one of the strengths of Shenmue 3, or Shenmue as a franchise, is the storyline, not so much the gameplay. Even though the gameplay is good, the gameplay is mostly about immersion. So you can't do quick shots of like a guy shooting somebody and then an explosion and whatever. Like, it's not that type of game. A lot of the gameplay is very slow paced and, is trying to make you just feel like you're part of that world. So I think they were smart in that sense, because in that trailer, they really only gameplay they show you is some of the fighting, and that's it. And I think that was smart, because that's a mechanic a lot of people really want. So with that said, it gave me exactly what I wanted. It gave me storyline and proof that they are doing a direct continuation and that it's important to them without giving me much spoilers. Like, oh, good, he gets out of the cave. I think we all kind of expected that. And then it gives you just enough hints to be like, whoa, cool, that's where that's going. So I actually was quite content with the trailer. I thought it did a great job as for what it needed to be. What lighting technology do you have in your room? Right now, I've got just 2 photo lights coming in, as well as some of the sun. I'm sure as the stream wears on that the sun will go down and the lighting conditions will change. But yeah, so at the moment, that's what we're doing. Did I watch Captain Marvel? My thoughts on it. I personally think it was just a fun time with Nick Fury. Yes, I saw it. I walked away with it thinking it was very, very mediocre, to be honest with you. And it was a serviceable episode in between. Like I've said this before, I always kind of perceive the Marvel Cinematic Universe as not a series of movies so much as they are a really big television show that only gets like 2 or 3 episodes a year. And with that kind of mindset, it opens that door of enjoyment personally to me more because I really value continuity. Captain Marvel doesn't do the greatest job of like standing up as its own film. Very few MCU films actually do because they're so dependent upon other lore to really get the most out of them. And this is not really much of an exception to that. Like most of the things you're going to get out of it, you're going to get out of it because you've seen other aspects to it. My favorite moments were usually some connection to other aspects. So that said, as far as a chapter of that saga, it was fine. You know, would I see it in theaters again? No. Well, the next time I'll ever watch it is just during a marathon of the franchise. Like I have no desire to actually sit down and watch Captain Marvel by itself again. It was just kind of, to help set up the next movie. That's really all it was to me. We got a couple of donations here. We got a super chat from you're gonna have to forgive my pronunciation, Faizan Mohadin. He didn't leave a comment, but then below that he did. He says, Adam Bay, I'm Sega's Bay, thank you very much. Will you be attending Comic-Con in Tampa this year? If they invite me, potentially, but I haven't been invited, so I doubt it. I haven't been to Florida in years. We also got a donation on PayPal from Richard Reeves Jr., who says, Pop-Tarts or are raviolis? Changed my mind. Pop-Tarts, I guess, would be the dessert version of a ravioli. But more like that strudel kind, like the ones that you that were, well, obviously you could, put a Pop-Tart in a toaster. But those, I always found, do you remember those, like, same company that did Pop-Tarts did like these strudel type of things that were like fancy Pop-Tarts for a while. I have no idea if they still make those. I would say those are more like raviolis. But thank you very much, Richard and Faizan, for the donations. Much appreciated. Jose Rivera super chats and says, do you think about disc rot when collecting discs? To an extent. Obviously, I check discs I eyeball it and try to see how they look. But, after that, what I'll do is I'll often go back and rip the disc to see if it's functional. See, a lot of people will take a game from any CD-based console and they'll pop it into the console. And if it boots up, they're like, okay, good, it works. Nah, that's not good enough. I always go back in any disc-based console where it's possible. I will rip the data to a hard drive, even if that data is useless to me. It's just to make sure a drive was able to read all of the data. And if it was able to read all the data, then it's good. Typically, it's advised to do that, pretty much whenever you buy a game. That way, if there's something wrong with it, you can return it right away. And it has revealed certain issues. Like over the years, I've definitely found games that don't work. Whether or not it's disc rot is always debatable, but a lot of the times it's just scratches or whatever. So getting discs resurfaced, which I'm going to do a video on disc resurfacing, like proper disc resurfacing relatively soon. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you, Jose. We got another super chat from Randall Kornick, who says, this has been a boring year so far in terms of game releases. With that said, I give full credit to Capcom for pulling up their socks this generation. Yeah, give Capcom credit for surviving. Thank you, Randall, for the donation. People forget, man, Capcom only a few years ago was like on the verge of bankruptcy. The fact that they're now like back and they're strong and they did the Resident Evil franchise finally some justice. Like, good on them. I really do appreciate that. And thus far this year, I think technically the RE2 remake was this year, right? It came out in January, not December. So that might so far be the best one. The one I would go with after that is probably Far Cry New Dawn. But then again, we're only in March. I mean, the majority of the year is still ahead of us. So, but it hasn't been that bad. But then again, it hasn't been that insanely awesome either. Thank you, Randall. I saw a question about, am I going to Missouri Game Con this year? Probably. That really depends on what happens around that time of the year, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to go to that. My buddy Jesse says, "What up, dude? Picked up a TG16 CD with the plastic carrier, dude. Really today?" Jesse's my San Francisco Bay Area buddy. In fact, I believe he's picking me up from the airport tomorrow. So thank you, Jesse. Congratulations on your pickup. Saw one guy come in with Domino's boxes. Ew, sorry to hear that. I'm gonna be in Chicago for Celebration. I assume you're talking about Star Wars Celebration. I have never been. What food do you recommend? What place is the best deep dish? Well, funny enough, there's a extremely high probability I'm gonna be at Star Wars Celebration as well. So you might run into me walking around on the convention floor. As far as the pizza question, well, yeah, okay, that was yeah. I would go with Lou Malnati's deep dish pizza. That's not Illuminati, which a lot of people always say, but Lou Malnati's. And then traditionally, deep dish is just cheese. However, you can put whatever you want on it, but I usually go with that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those that says no, toppings on stuff, because I'll totally put toppings on thin crust, New York style, squared pizzas, all that stuff. But deep dish traditionally, no, it feels like overkill, and it alters the flavor pretty substantially. But that's my opinion. There's also Giordano's. Actually, I think the area where Celebration is going to be, which I think is McCormick Place. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff like that around there. There's going to be, I'm sure Giordano's and Lou Malnati's are nearby. Yeah, those would probably be my suggestions. Giordano's is more deep dish. Or sorry, Lou Malnati's is more deep dish. Giordano's is more stuffed. They're not the same thing. Just because it's like thick pizza doesn't mean it's deep dish. Deep dish is usually a thicker crust, and stuffed is usually more of a softer bread-like crust, if that helps. Will I pre-order the PS5? It entirely depends on what happens with it. We don't know enough about it. There's nothing concrete. If it's an all digital box, kind of like that possible Xbox One discless thing, like I would never get that. It just entirely depends. If it's the physical media based console I want it to be, and then it supports backwards compatibility with all that stuff, like that's amazing. Of course I would want that. What about Detroit style pizza? I actually really like Detroit style pizza. That would be like Jet's Pizza, aka Turbo Crust. And there's actually I don't remember the name of it. There's a good place in Chicago that does Detroit style pizza, and I think it might actually be called something like Detroit style pizza. And it's really good. So it's not something Detroit gets any credit for, but their pizza is really good. At least the concept of Detroit style. Which Shenmue do I like the best? One or two? Two. Who's going to win the 9th generation? Depends on your definition. I mean, if we're talking... well, it's too hard to say that at this point, because, none of them are out. So you're just gambling. There's too many X factors to that question, because what will Nintendo and Microsoft do together, if they'll do anything together, etc. So it's just... I don't know. If you want just a random grasp at straws, I'd probably give it over to Microsoft. But that's with a huge caveat, a big catch, that they have some sort of alignment with Nintendo, which very probably isn't actually going to be a thing. Did I read about the Axiom Verge Wii U situation? If so, what do you think? Well, first of all, for those who don't know, Axiom Verge is going to be the Wii U exclusive that the last Wii U game that comes through Limited Run Games. I'm very poorly phrasing that. Limited Run Games at one point said that there was going to be a Wii U title, and people were wondering what that game was going to be. It's finally been revealed as Axiom Verge, which is funny because I had mentioned it multiple times. I thought that Axiom Verge was going to be that game. So, yeah, I was right. Not that that really means anything. I know that process has been hell for them, to the point where I spoke to one of them at the Portland Retro Game Expo last year, and he said that Nintendo made it even worse, because when they ordered the games, Nintendo just sent them a big spindle full of discs, and like, what are we supposed to do with this? So they've been going back and forth trying to get all these things produced. But yeah, they finally did it, so cool. I think that's going to be kind of a hard one to get, but I'm going to have to do my best to get it, because, hey, full Wii U set. We got a donation from Scribe86. I don't know if he would want me to say his full name. It says, "Hi, Adam. Here's two quick questions, if that's okay. One, with the split between you and Game Society, will your Game Society 2 YouTube page, typically used for Patreon early access videos, now become redundant or just renamed? And two, did you ever hear any sales numbers of Shenmue 1 and 2 HD, physical or digital, from Sega?" The first part of that question is, like I said, we're on very good terms. Like, it's very amicable, and it in no way affects that at all. Like, for those, if you guys are Patreon backers of mine, you get early access to my content. I host that early access privately over on GSP2. That's not going to be an issue. There's no issues there. Like I said, I wish my former cohorts all the best, and I want them very much to succeed. And secondly, no, Sega never gave me any sort of internal numbers or anything like that. I hope it did well, but I don't know firsthand. I assume based on the pre-orders and all that it did just fine, or at least met expectations. Though I also assume the Xbox One version did not do particularly well, as it ended up in a lot of clearance bins, very notably at Target. I'd like to see Spider-Man 2 come to Xbox One backwards compatibility. I assume you mean the Spider-Man 2, like the Tobey Maguire era one for the OG Xbox. People love that game because it has like I think the story with that is like the web slinging mechanic of it was mostly programmed by one extremely devout Spider-Man fan who would come in on his off days and be unpaid just to upgrade that engine. Hence it's so good. If you had a prediction, how long do you think you'll be able to keep your channel going? I mean, that's entirely up to you guys. Thank you for the donations. Let's just put it that way. When do you plan to make new generation recaps with consoles you've procured since finishing uploading them? There's no fixed date for that. It's something what I used to do is want to do it like every 6 months. So I would hit them up in like November and then sometimes in like March or April. So it's possible I'll do it next month, but you know, it also depends on what other activities and things I have to be doing. So I don't know. I also have to kind of go back in the list and figure out which ones I even need to do. I know I need to do like the Sega SG-1000. I know I need to do Sega Mark III. I need to do what was some of them else? A lot of the Japanese ones that I managed to get recently, like maybe not the PC Engine CD or anything like that, as I don't even have a working one, but like Bandai Pladia, stuff like that. So we'll see. My buddy Chip is here. When are you going to eat tacos next? I don't know, man. That's up to you. Bring me down to Texas and let's get some tacos. Good old Chip. How you doing, man? The ultimate duck boat denier. Do you ever think there will be another Sonic game as good or impactful as the original trilogy? Impactful, probably not, but as good, Sonic Mania, man. Sonic Mania was really good. I feel like a lot of people didn't want to play it only because of where Sonic is right now as like a brand. But you should definitely check that out, especially if you liked the Genesis ones. Like, it's a complete love letter to those games. You can get it on the Switch, the PS4, Xbox One. You can also get it on PC, I believe. I'm sure you can. You should check that out. You mentioned The Room. Favorite quote from it? Oh, dude, like every single line in that movie is a quote. I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. Probably that. That or just the entirety of the flower shop scene. I like playing Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 on my Xbox One and Xbox 360. I love playing original Xbox games so much. Yeah, me too. It's kind of too bad that there has been absolutely no updates to that particular program. I hope that changes. I mentioned that in a video at some point, and somebody said, no, they confirmed there's going to be more. And I was like, all right, where? And I never hear back about that. And it's like, okay, then they didn't confirm anything. And people have this weird thing, particularly when they're younger, to say X company confirmed something because they want to believe it. But that never was a thing. Have I ever heard of a video sharing site called Vanillo? No, I can't say I have. Are the Chinese GDMUs on Amazon any good? I have no idea. I never used them. Do you get really mad when people screw up your coffee? It's kind of hard to screw up black coffee because like that's all I get. Just hey, black coffee, whatever the cup of the day is. So if it came back with like a bunch of sugar and bullshit in it, then yeah, I'd probably be like, what the hell? I hear beeping. Just a reminder, everybody, I am giving away stuff tonight, or more accurately, Castlemania Games is giving away stuff tonight. There's a link in the description of this video. If you follow me on Twitter and follow Castlemania Games on Twitter and retweet that tweet, you're entered to win USB Sega Genesis controllers, either black or blue. The winner gets to choose, mailed to you courtesy of Castlemania Games. So give that a shot if you're at all interested. With the HD Retrovision cable for the Sega Dreamcast versus the VGA to HDMI versus component, which do you think will look better, component or VGA upscaled 1080p through HDMI? It's kind of an unfair question because I don't have all those toys in front of me, so I can't really say. Personally, my preferred route is still the Gecko by the Bahar Bros, connecting an M cable to that and calling it a day. I don't think you're ever going to see the Dreamcast look better without modification. Do you prefer the blue European Dreamcast logo? No. I think I prefer orange, probably because that's just the market I grew up within with it, and it's also basically the same one the Japanese used. Theirs was more like a reddish color, but still, that basically is how it's supposed to be. The only reason Europe and Australia got blue was just due to some German trademark on something. Would I buy Space Channel 5 for PSVR? No, because I don't even have a PSVR. I tried using a PSVR recently. I played some Doom on it, and I played Skyrim for a bit, and oh, dude, like Skyrim made me want to throw up. Like, I'm sorry, I just do not like VR. I just can't do it. Castlemania Game says that I will definitely be reviewing the HD Retrovision cables. Well, there you go. New video confirmed. Have I ever played Time Splitters? Very briefly, a long time ago. But it has been quite some time. 1 second here. We got a super chat from Dennis Pevtsov, who says, your opinion on RE2 Remake, PS, best intro on YouTube on videos. Definitely not my intros, but thank you. Actually, all right, so I've really dug that game. I thought that was fantastic. That was like a perfect way to do a remake, and like everyone should take note. Like that's how you properly do a from a ground up remake. I really don't have anything negative to say. I know that the Mr. X can be intimidating as hell. I do think the one criticism I would have given that game is just that game is a holdover. The original version is a holdover from the whole like cheat codes era, and it would have been really nice if there were some cheat codes built into the game. But alas, there are not. Thank you very much for the super chat. Why do you think Crackdown 3, Jump Force, Anthem, and that Far Cry game were so poorly reviewed? The only one I've played any of is Far Cry New Dawn, and Far Cry New Dawn, I enjoyed, what I played of it, but I also kind of went into it just knowing to expect just more Far Cry. So in that sense, I was not disappointed. Crackdown 3 was stuck in development hell forever, so it's not really surprising to me that it didn't end up being anything that great. Anthem and Jump Force, I really couldn't say. I don't know. What do you do with your Dreamcast developer kits? I clean them off every once in a while and preserve them, I guess. I mean, if you're asking, like, do you make games on... You can't do that. Like, it's logistically prohibitive. Like, first of all, I don't have all the equipment necessary for that, so I can't do anything with it. But even if I did, like, you still need, like, a Windows 98 based PC. You still need legal consent to use them. And your average PC now has better open source tools than any of that stuff ever. It's not like you turn the machines on and then just, like, a new game pops out. Like, it's you can't really do anything practical with them. Not in 2019. Which Batman actor do you prefer, Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, or Christian Bale? I probably would go with Michael Keaton, even though I think that I prefer the Christian Bale era movies better. What are my thoughts on the strange Google console coming? I think that I'm betting you that's more of just like an Ouya type of thing. I can't imagine it's actually going to be particularly significant. And then when you hear things like, oh, but Sega's involved, it's like Sega probably said, here's a bunch of Genesis games you can put on it. Like, I can't imagine it's anything more than that. But I guess we'll find out. Um, would you ever sell one of your DC dev kits? I really have no reason to, and really would rather not, so no. My thoughts on the whole Xbox Game Pass thing. I literally go watch my Nintendo Switch 2-year birthday. Like that was like 70% of that video was talking about the possible Xbox integration. Um, just want to say thank you for discovering your videos. The reason why I resurrected my Dreamcast, by the way. Are you attending the Long Island Retro Video Game Expo this summer in New York? Um, First of all, you're welcome. Secondly, not that I'm aware of. No one's ever contacted me about it, so I don't know. I would go. I love going to New York. Multiplat's worth getting on the Wii U. I don't know. There's some versions of like for example like the what was that Batman game, Arkham Origins or whatever it was. Like the Wii U version is like the most stable of all of them. Some games like that, but for the most part, yeah, the Wii U is going to be interesting to see how that plays out because a lot of its best games have already kind of jumped consoles. Unlike say Saturn, which it often gets compared to. I've made that comparison myself. Um, so a lot of what's exclusive to it is really just a lot of like movie licensed garbage. I still think it'll be worth something at some point just because it's Nintendo hardware. But yeah, hard to say which ones in particular will be. Axiom Verge probably will be. Wii U 7th birthday video. Not gonna happen. Was it Arkham City Armored Edition? Yeah, the original like launch of the Wii U is kind of interesting because a lot of the games that came out for it were like 7th gen games with a whole bunch of DLC and stuff on disc, but that didn't last very long. Is building a DOS retro gaming machine interesting to you? Not particularly. I didn't use DOS in the first place. I don't really have any nostalgia for it. Any plans on how to get an RGB out of a PS4 video? Can't say there is. Any thoughts on how the Vita and how it's basically officially dead now? I mean, I'm kind of surprised it lasted as long as it did, you know. But hey, I never really got into Vita. Shit, I still don't even own one. I have a PS TV, but that's it. Vita was just never my thing. But like, I feel bad for all the people that are no longer gonna have it. But at the same time, like, it had a much better lifespan than you can probably realistically expect it to have had, considering it really didn't do all that well. Do I wear contact lenses? No, I do not. I actually had laser corrective surgery a number of years ago because I used to like have terrible vision. So, yeah, no, I'm good now. United versus American. I'm assuming we're talking about airlines. I am on Team United Airlines. I have the original Japanese VGA box for the Dreamcast. Never used it because I have no VGA monitor. Is it good? Um, I actually, you're talking about the official Sega brand one. I actually don't have that one, so I don't know. Probably it's probably fine. I watched Captain Marvel. I actually talked about it earlier already. Is the Switch your first handheld console you own while relevant? I still debate whether or not it's actually just a handheld platform, but let's entertain that premise for a second. The answer is no. I actually I was big into the original Game Boy when I was a kid when it was relevant. But that was, you know, kind of a short-lived thing as far as how long I was interested in it. Handhelds, man, just it's like I got a TV. You know what I mean? Like that's always been kind of my philosophy. It's like I got a TV, let me use that. Um, did I enjoy Digital Press the other night? I did. That's Digital Press is a store in New Jersey. So my buddies and I, so it would have been David Crossan, James Reiner, and Rob Janos, who's I know watching or he was watching for a bit. All of us went out to this store in New Jersey, and it started like absolutely fucking pouring rain, like just like totally unsafe to drive level of rain. You got to pull over or you're gonna die type of levels. But the store closed at 9 and it was like 8:30, so it was like, hey man, we got to risk our lives for video games. We just got to do it. So we all just did this, and we just went out to this store, and we went inside, and you know, they all found stuff, and I actually didn't find anything. I was just kind of like wandering around. There was a very nice guy in there named Steven who just kept like double checking me, and then I realized that guy probably knows who, he probably watches the channel. And then eventually he came over, he's like, hey, are you Adam Koralik? Yeah, what's up? And then we just chatted for a while. So I had a good time there. It was very cool. If you guys ever see me at stuff and you're like, because I do get around, as a lot of you people are pointing out, like I do travel a lot, so you'll never know where I'll like randomly show up. So if you see me, just feel free to say hi. I'm always happy to talk to people who watch the channel. Is Man of Steel a good movie? Nobody on the internet can decide if it's good. It's very divisive. Obviously, it's a matter of opinion. I rather enjoyed it. It was much. It was the Superman movie we kind of needed at that point in time, because the previous one had been Superman Returns, which was just not a movie that like in any way, shape, or form did justice to the Superman character. I thought it was not a perfect, but a good starting point for that whole DC universe. It's just that it all fell the fuck off right after that. Hey, Phobius, Stefan's here. What's up, man? Long time no see. Thanks for live streaming. Thanks for watching. Stop by when you're in Switzerland. No current plans to be in Switzerland, I'm afraid. What's your opinion on Star Wars Bounty Hunter 480p on PS2? I'd just go with the GameCube version. That's 480p and definitely works. I haven't tried the PS2 version, so I can't say. Typically, when it came to multiplats that only existed on either PS2 or GameCube, I would go with the GameCube version. To me, they were more fun to collect, but also, in most instances, you would have a much better chance of having progressive scan support than you would on PlayStation 2. Now, obviously, that's an exception, but I'll go with the GameCube version. Which Star Wars games do you recommend on GameCube? There weren't too many Star Wars games that only came out on GameCube. There was like Rogue Squadron, which Rogue Squadron 2 was good. I like the third one, just not as much. And then Bounty Hunter. And I'm trying to think if there was even any others that only came out on GameCube, because the vast majority of them also came out on Xbox and PlayStation 2. So I don't know if there's... I can't think of any others offhand. If you think of them, by all means, tell me. Any convention plans for this year? Yes, my next convention is right around the corner. I will be at Cowlitz, Washington, for Cowlitz Gamers for Kids, which is a convention hosted by John Hancock of the Metal Jesus Group. Pretty much the entirety of the Metal Jesus Rocks crew will be there, and I will be there as well as guests. Castlevania Games, who's in the chat right now, will be there. So yeah, that's the next one I know of. Then there's other conventions that are like possibilities, but I don't know yet any others that are concrete. What game console can't take a hit with a hammer? I would think the majority of them. Into the Spider-Verse. I still haven't seen it. I would very much like to. I just haven't gotten around to it. Do I like the Batman Arkham games? Oh, that's another franchise I really need to actually like sit down and play. Which city do you travel to the most? Those probably have to be San Francisco. I mean, I'm literally going there tomorrow again. 2 months left of Gamers Club Unlocked. What should I buy? Oh man, I would take a look at your pre-orders and just go in and pre-order a bunch of stuff that's going to come out after that. And yeah, that's what I would do first. See what it's coming up that won't be available when your membership expires. That's what I did. Um, and then just kind of go into the clearance sections and the on sale sections and just see whatever intrigues you. You still have 2 months left, so you're okay. Funny story about that. So my Gamers Club Unlocked expired, and like the last day I had it, I went to Twitter and I just, I posted about it, and I put up like a GIF of like sadness from Inside Out, like crying. And Best Buy actually commented on it, and I shared it around because I was stunned. Whoever is in control of the Best Buy Twitter apparently watches my show Playload, because they specifically referenced it. So that was fascinating. Chip has a really good point. Buy Nintendo first party stuff, assuming you have a Switch, because they really never do sales on those things. Tiomir Simon super chat says, "What's your favorite game for the Switch?" Cheers. Thank you very much for that. The one I probably put the most time into actually was be. I know it's weird because most people didn't really like this one. I was gonna say New Super Mario Brothers Wii U, the Switch edition or whatever the fuck it's called, but no, in hindsight, I'm gonna go with Mario Kart 8. That one actually is the one I put more time into. If we can't include former Wii U titles, it would probably be Super Mario Odyssey. Thank you very much for the donation. Virtual Boy wouldn't survive. It breaks if you even look at it funny. Yeah, that's definitely true. It also hurts. I mean, like, I don't know how this applies to everybody else, but like, I'm definitely one of those people where if I look at a Virtual Boy, it just like, it's like staring into a bunch of laser pointers. It hurts like hell, and I get a headache within like a minute. I just can't play it. Um, a console that many people like but you don't, or the opposite of. I guess you'd have to go with the original Wii. I have really no love for that particular platform. As time has gone on, it seems like that those decisions by the fan base has been mostly negative. Like, most people look back and be like, that thing was terrible, except for the younger crowd that actually grew up on it, which defend it, which makes sense. They grew up on it. It's kind of like the Star Wars fans that grew up on the originals versus grew up on the prequels type of argument. Would you buy a Virtual Boy modded for TV out? Not really, no. Have no reason to. Plus, it really wouldn't have that kind of effect. How do you think the sixth generation would have turned out if GameCube had used full size DVDs? Um, that depends. If you're saying it would have included DVD software for movie playback, that might have helped. Uh, because even the original Xbox outsold the GameCube, and part of it was the fact that it could play DVDs. Had Nintendo done that, they might have been able to win those people over and get, because then it would have been like, oh, we know Nintendo plus DVDs. But that was a weird time where everyone was buying PlayStation 2s largely for DVD support, and then Xbox threw it in there as kind of a bonus to help kind of win some people over, because the Xbox brand was still so new and unknown and untrusted at that point. Nintendo was trusted, but they also didn't give you that feature. So if you're like the mom who says like you can have one or the other, they might try to get more value out of an original Xbox because of DVD support. Granted, you still had to buy that stupid little dongle thing, but yeah, maybe that would have made an effect. But how much of an effect, I don't know. I think it's possible GameCube would have come in second instead of third, and that's about it. Nobody was going to beat the PlayStation 2 that generation. Best burger place in Chicago. I can't remember the name of it. There's this place. It's got like a French name. It's like considered like the best one. And then there's what's the place like Copa's Corner. It's like got a bear on it. People always say that's one of the best places in the city. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I've never been that great at gauging how good a burger is or not versus other places. What do I think about the direction of the Star Wars franchise? Other than Rogue One, I haven't really particularly enjoyed much of the Disney era. I did entire videos about Force Awakens, Rogue One, and Last Jedi. I never even bothered to do one on Solo because that tells you everything you need to know. It wasn't really worth discussing. I mentioned it in like a podcast or something, but that was about it. But overall, yeah, Rogue One was the only one I actually enjoyed. But going back to the whole Marvel thing, I enjoyed it because it was like watching an episode of a series, not a standalone movie. My trip to Guam says otherwise. Fox, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what you're in reference to there. By the way, my buddy Fox is in there. How much did the GameCube sell overall? I haven't found a solid answer. If memory serves me, and again, that's memory, so I could be wrong. I want to say 22 million, where the original Xbox sold 24 million, but I could be wrong about that. Have I been to Toy Rat recently? No. Last time I was in Toronto, which was last month, we actually went to Milton, Ontario, with the intention of going to Toy Rat. And by the time we were there, he was closed, and there was no other time to go back there. So unfortunately, I didn't get to see him. Oh, Fox is referring to my favorite burger in Guam. You know what's funny, man? Like the first time I was in Guam, that burger was like my ultimate. Like it meant everything to me as far as burgers go. But the next time I went back, I went to go have it again, and it just wasn't that good. And I don't know if it was like a coincidence, new chef, what it was, but it's dead to me, which makes me sad. Which new features would best help sell consoles this next generation that is not VR online gameplay? Yeah, I think that's the same question the industry's always like kicking around, like what's gonna do what. I kind of get the feeling that they're setting themselves up for a couple of things: backwards compatibility, cross compatibility, and possibly portability. Which would explain, Nintendo obviously went on the whole portability thing. Microsoft's been pushing more of the cross compatibility thing, and Sony might be pushing the more backwards compatibility thing. So we'll just kind of have to see how that goes. But anybody's guess is as good as anybody else's. Do I know how to solder? I do not. I tried to learn that back in like high school in like a tech class, but my hands are too shaky, probably because I drink too much of this stuff. Do you think DC will ever get their act together in terms of movies? Obviously, there are a few exceptions of good ones like Wonder Woman. As a whole, probably not, because like you said, they had a couple of hits in there, so they don't want to destroy the entire universe they made, but at the same time, I don't think they really want to persist with it either. And they don't have a singular voice kind of guiding their general actions. It looks like Shazam, according to a lot of early reviews, is going to be like really, really good. But it's part of a model set up by a couple guys who are no longer there, and now they have new models for new types of movies. So they keep changing what the direction is going to be, and therefore it's just loosely structured at best. And it creates all sort of problems. Like when I talked about this when I discussed Aquaman. Like Aquaman's a weird movie because it takes place in the same universe as Superman and all these other characters, and yet those characters don't show up and have nothing to do with it, which theoretically would be a problem that applies to Marvel as well, except Marvel was much better at keeping their problems like centrally focused around that character. So there's a logical reason why, if Captain America is dealing with something, why the Hulk wouldn't show up. Whereas a global catastrophe like event that occurred in Aquaman, it just makes no sense for Superman to do nothing. Um, so yeah, they set up a very strange universe that wasn't particularly well thought out, and that's what you've got. I don't think that there's ever going to be a way for them to like completely course correct. You would have to completely wipe out that entire universe and start over, and I just don't think they're going to do that. I already talked a bit about the whole Google Sega thing. I don't think there's gonna be much of anything to that. Opinions on a potential Dreamcast Classic console. Not really. Those I've never really cared about those things. Did you hear about the rumors about a company trying to bring back Sega Nomad? My understanding of this is, again, I'm not super well informed on this, but I think that somebody just bought the molds to kind of reissue their own, probably clone console versions. I like Hyperkin level. I don't know who's actually doing it. I wouldn't expect it to be fantastic. Marvel needs to make an X-Men movie with their damn comic costumes. Well, speaking of that, Disney completes the acquisition of Fox in about 3 days from now. Like, then they'll be officially the same brand, so it's entirely possible. Do you think Sony can handle Microsoft and Nintendo when they team up? Assuming that were to happen, it would be an interesting, battle to see play out. But who would actually win or whatever? Anybody's guess. Why does Sony always do what Nintendo does, but years later and worse? Safety. I would think that their whole thing is kind of like, hey, that worked. Let's try that, and then we'll try to rebrand it ourselves. And then, but because they didn't really come up with it in the first place, they're not necessarily as good at it or as well associated with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Do you think 40 Winks will see a port to the Dreamcast from Pico Interactive? I hope so, but I think they missed that Kickstarter goal. I could be wrong, but I think they missed that. Red Calc Z Super Chats. Do you think the Western release of Judgment will be delayed because of the drug controversy surrounding the actor who played the villain? I could be wrong, but I think that only applied to the Japanese version. So if the English dubbed actor had nothing to do with that, then I don't see how that would be affecting it. Thank you for the super chat. I wonder if Disney buying Fox will allow them to mess with the Alien franchise. That'd be awesome to see as the Sonic movie. What? Oh yeah, they'll have the rights to the Alien franchise. What they do with it, if they do anything, is anybody's guess. Is McDonald's disgusting? In my opinion, yes. I wouldn't eat it, but to each their own. I don't knock it. I remember it tasting really good. It's just terrible for you. Opinion on the Uncharted series. I've only played it in bits and pieces, and it never really hooked me. It was fine. I probably could have sat down and played it and enjoyed it enough, but it just kind of felt like, okay, I'm still going, as opposed to like, hey, I'm still enjoying. If that makes any sense. Do you think Game Gear could have survived if Sega had released a smaller version that used less batteries? It's entirely possible. Yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020. I do think that the real killer of the Game Gear was the 6 AA batteries and the fact that you just couldn't do it efficiently. That was where Nintendo was super smart about it, was just having the screen sucked, it didn't have a backlight and all that stuff, but it only needed 2 batteries. And expecting kids to be able to constantly afford that was probably foolish. Better tech was one thing, but it just wasn't financially efficient. We got a super chat from Lee SJBMCPRS who says, "Good evening, Adam. My question is coming up. Just have to word it. My apologies for missing some of your live Q&As as of late." Don't apologize. I haven't had that many of them, so I'm actually really glad I could do this one. I wanted to do this last night, but I was just too exhausted from traveling, so I'm happy to do this one tonight before I head out. Although this is not going to be a particularly long one, because I'm heading out to San Francisco in the morning, so I need to get some sleep. But thank you very much. And we also got another super chat from Red Calc Z, who just donated $2. No comment. Thank you very much. What's the latest on A Gamer's Journey? He's referring to the Shenmue documentary. I don't know. I know that they're still working on it. That's all I know. Opinions on the new Dreamcast HDMI mod. I've only used it very briefly, and I probably will be covering it at some point. Is Burger King greater than McDonald's? Again, personal opinion. I always kind of enjoyed the burgers more at Burger King. I always felt they were more filling. But again, I haven't eaten any of those since high school. Do you think physical media for consoles is over? That's, well, I mean, it's kind of, obviously that's up to Sony and Microsoft. I mean, Nintendo will keep pushing physical for a while. I have a hard time believing that Sony will do a PS5 that has complete backwards compatibility yet doesn't have a disc drive, because how would that work? So I think that that'll use physical media, assuming those rumors are true. Microsoft, I think, isn't really sure yet what they're going to do. Hence, you're getting this digital Xbox One version. If that ends up being like super successful, I kind of see that as like a trial run to be like, okay, that really worked. So maybe we can be ballsy enough for the next console to not have that. And then if that's what they do, that's what they do. I wouldn't personally support that, but, you know, to each their own. Um, why is Gonzaga always overrated? I'm not familiar with that. Lee says, I have a friend with a Nintendo Switch who focuses on Pokemon games and is not that varied in other games. What would you recommend for easy play slash accessible games for the Nintendo Switch? Pretty much anything with Nintendo's name on it. So Mario Kart's obviously very pick up and play. Super Mario Brothers Deluxe Switch Edition, very pick up and play. Super Mario Odyssey as well. Those are probably the ones I would go with firsthand, and then, you know, go from there. What video games would you want to see in a museum besides Shenmue 1 and 2? I don't think they really need to be in a museum. The ones that, in my opinion, need to go in museums are like super rare things that don't exist elsewhere, like prototypes of games and you know, games that were so limited in their release that there are no other copies. Like, as stupid as it might sound, NBA Elite 11 for the PS3, a game that was never meant to come out, like 11 copies of it somehow leaked out, and I've seen one in person. I know it's real. So like one of those going in a museum would be cool just for that reason. But you know, Shenmue is a widely available game. It's not something that necessarily belongs in there for that reason. Now, cultural touchstone type of reason, sure, that's different. But you don't put the game itself in there. You'd put like some sort of original asset or something. I don't know what. Blackhawks. I should know. I'm from the city where they're from. The Chicago Blackhawks are on a tear trying to make the playoffs. I had no idea. I haven't been paying attention, but I hope they do it. Um, Fox says I picked up an SE Asia release physical in Bangkok. I'm not sure what he's referring to there. Adam, which of the 8th gen consoles do you think will be the most interesting to collectors? I'm still going with the Wii U on that one because it's technically 8th gen. It's very doable. It's only like 200 something games. I would have at one point said the Switch, but the problem with the Switch is it's blown up and has become way too big. There's too many games for that thing that are so limited in their release that you just can't really get a hold of them. And that's not going to be fun for anybody. The same actually goes for the PS4. Xbox One, not nearly as bad, but the problem with Xbox One is that it's just Xbox versions mostly of PS4 games. There really aren't too many Xbox One actual exclusives, which is kind of a motivator in what makes a console's entire legacy valuable. So I'd probably go with Wii U, although I don't think any of them are going to be like super hot collector's things. I think individual cases will be, but like full sets, I mean, it'll be something. Someone will do it. Someone will have a full set of some of these platforms, and you'll be like, "Damn!" But I don't think it's going to be a common thing that too many collectors pursue. Just my guess. What are a few of your favorite Dreamcast games that came out after the console's support stopped that are worth tracking down? My all-time favorite would be Stormwind. I think that was a really fantastic shoot 'em up. Um, there's one that I'm actually an NPC in called Zia and the Goddesses of Magic. It's an RPG. If you go up and interact with me, apparently all I do is talk about Shenmue and Dreamcast. How appropriate. Um, I think 4x4 Jam was actually pretty good. It was like a PSP Minis game that ended up getting brought over to the Dreamcast by Josh Prod. It was pretty good because it was probably about all of them the one that most looked like a legitimate release of the day. Not necessarily one of the best games or anything, but the fact that they were able to pull it off was impressive. But probably Stormwind would be my answer. How would you react if you found a copy of NBA Elite 11 for $1 because the store thought it was a generic basketball game? Well, I'd buy it, first of all. And then I don't know. I'd probably tell that story and just be stunned. What retro slash classic consoles do you recommend collecting and investing in right now? That's tough. I still think the original Xbox leaves something to be desired on that, because I think that one's kind of fun because it's still cheap. There's still a lot of it, and I have to believe all that 6th gen stuff is going to go up. The problem is, what happens is a lot of these consoles eventually just become prohibitively expensive to pursue for most people. The original Xbox hasn't really done that yet, so I still think that one's a lot of fun. But then again, that console also means a lot to me from that era. So I do think a lot of people are going to collect original Wii. I personally would never, but I do think that one will probably be somewhat valuable too, because again, it's a Nintendo major console. At some point, that'll be something. Yeah, I mean, older stuff than that, it's just getting too difficult unless you already had like a big head start on it, or if you're just willing to put down like insane amounts of money. 6,000 copies of Axiom Verge on Wii U. Okay, that's better than the 2,000 I was expecting. So at least that gives more people a chance to get it. That's good. So guys, we're an hour in at this point, and I just want to say a couple things. One, I'm doing a contest tonight, compliments of Castlemania Games, who's in the chat with us. There's a tweet in the description of this video that I put out. If you follow me and follow him and retweet that tweet, you're entered to win a Sega Genesis USB controller, either blue or black. Winner will get to choose. That's it. Winners will be drawn later. And just thank you, Castlemania Games, for doing that. Also, if you wish to super chat or donate via PayPal at any time, that's up to you. We'll answer your questions first and foremost. But other than that, that's it. We're just continuing on our way here. How are you guys doing? You having a good Sunday night? How do you feel about Resident Evil Remake and Zero Remaster Editions and Resident Evil 4 being released on the Switch at a higher price than the other formats they've already had the games? Well, first of all, I hadn't heard about the higher price, although I guess I'm not surprised that Capcom would put those out, because people are dumping stuff onto the Switch constantly, and Resident Evil stuff sells, especially those particular games, because people really like them. And I hadn't heard about them being more expensive, but I guess that's not really a surprise, because it's the Switch tax. A lot of stuff that comes out on Switch ends up being more costly for that reason. I guess it can be conceivably considered irritating, since most of them are like 6th gen era games that have basically just been modified. But if you don't like it, don't support it. I'm sure those games will have discounts too, because Capcom does do price slashes. They're not Nintendo. Have I played Minecraft? Not for more than a couple of minutes here and there. So no. I just, that was one of those games where I tried playing it and I was like, am I old? I think I'm old now. I think I'm old because I don't get this game. By the way, I want to say a shout out to our admins here who've been showing up tonight. We got Giovanna, we got Scott. I know earlier we had Stefan and Chip was in there. Thank you guys for being in there and doing your jobs. Much appreciated. Or at least just showing up. Since you live in Chicago, I was wondering if you've been to Milwaukee, and how is it going to watch the Bucks Lakers this week? So I haven't been to Milwaukee in a couple of years. Milwaukee's a perfectly fine city. I think it gets shit on a lot on a national level, just because it's a punchline of jokes like, if you're from somewhere weird, you must be from Wisconsin or Milwaukee. But It's a perfectly cool city. I used to go to Milwaukee Bucks games all the time, actually, when I was a kid. They're actually my second favorite team, so I'm actually totally rooting for them this year. I hope that they win the title. I think that they totally deserve that. Um, yeah, I hope you had good seats, because that's one of the coolest things about the Bucks. At least it was. Is that if you got to sit like courtside or whatever, you could always get autographs and stuff. You guys have been talking about that Derrick Rose jersey that's not behind me at the moment. But that Derrick Rose jersey actually came from a Chicago Bulls versus Milwaukee Bucks game that I was at. It was in Milwaukee, and I got courtside seats because back then, especially, you could get them for like nothing, like absolutely nothing. So I drove up to the game, and then he signed that jersey before the game, and then he won the buzzer beater in that game. Like it was crazy. And actually, there's a shot, like a specific angle of Derrick Rose making the shot, and then after he makes it, you see me in the distance in the background being like, yeah. And I'm actually wearing a black shirt that's says "You have died of dysentery." The green text from Oregon Trail, because I didn't want to keep wearing the jersey. But point is, Milwaukee Bucks games can be a lot of fun, and I seriously wish them the best this year. It's funny, my favorite team obviously is the Bulls, hometown, whatever. But then it's the Milwaukee Bucks, and then the third, it's actually the Toronto Raptors, because I love the city of Toronto so much, as Scott keeps pointing out in the comments. So it'll be interesting to see an Eastern Conference between them. And I'm sorry to the Lakers fan base, but I find their complete failure this year to be hysterical. I do not like the Lakers. They've always been like possibly my second most hated team in the NBA, only to the Miami Heat being the all-time. I hate that team. So I happily dance on their failure, and it's objectively funny to watch. So that's that. Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee this year. I'm not going to be there, but I've heard it's really good. How has GameCube stuff been now that it's blowing up? I haven't really. You might. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase that question because I read it poorly. How has getting GameCube stuff been now that it's blowing up? You might have noticed I don't really pick up GameCube stuff very often because for exactly that reason. It's actually very hard to get any of it at like any sort of reasonable price. Mostly what I was doing with GameCube as of the last couple of years, other than the occasional exception, was picking up a lot of the Japanese stuff when I was in Japan. That stuff's still super cheap. And then I got a few of the European exclusives, mostly from France, because there's only like 8 of them. And in those cases, I was willing to just pay the money because you don't find them very often to begin with, so it's whatever. But the North American stuff, like I have a whole lot I still would need to get, and I don't, because you just don't see that stuff in the wild that often. And when you do, it's usually from like dedicated game stores that know what it is and know it's valuable. So I don't pick up GameCube stuff very much anymore. So it's kind of sucked. What about the bad boys kept sending Michael Jordan home early every year? I don't know. Ask the 90s. He seemed to do pretty well then. We call that the trial run. Do you have the Fire Emblem game for the GameCube? I don't think so. I think I have the case and manual, because I think I found that at like a Goodwill at one point without the disc, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time. And I could buy that for like $1. So I was always kind of like thinking like, well, if I ever find the disc, I mean, fuck knows. I mean, that was like, that's a vague memory I have from like 2011. So if I even still have it, it was sitting around somewhere like 8 years ago. Can I ask you guys a question? So here's what I've been thinking. Um, there's a possibility I might want to do more actual gameplay stuff on the channel. Not just like, hey, you should stream Shenmue or whatever, which I might do, but also like, you know, actually playing something or not necessarily reviewing something, but doing stuff that is outside of just talking about content, maybe actually playing something. Is that too like too different for what this channel has historically been, or would you guys embrace that? Also, I'm sorry I'm not on the most like of high energy right now. Like, I slept for 14 hours last night. You would think I would be like totally operational because of that, but that's only because I hadn't slept for more than a couple hours in the like 3 days prior to that. And so I feel like I overslept, so I'm like overtired or whatever that is. So I'm trying to perk up here a little bit, and I'm sorry. You guys seem to want me to do this. All right, well, I will keep that in mind. Do I have my own Twitch channel now that you're not part of GSP? Yes, though I don't really use it. If I was gonna do streaming of gameplay or whatever, it would be here. Were you thinking live streams or pre-recorded gameplay? Possibly both. Like there is no like real plan to this. It was just kind of something I've been thinking about for a while. Like there's the obvious answer of like, oh, I should stream, something like Shenmue, especially as it's building up as time goes on. And we're getting closer to the third one and all that stuff. But that's low hanging fruit. That's expected to an extent. But I was talking about more like I play something, I record some footage, I get the video edited together in some fashion, and we go over it. Because the closest I have to that now is the occasional like Dreamcast video where I play something for a bit. Part of the problem is I've never considered myself a reviewer. I've always kind of been like, I mean, granted I review hardware, but at the end of the day I always go like, here's what I think of it, you do whatever you want. But with gameplay, people typically don't take interpretation, they don't really interpret your opinion the same way. They interpret it more as a statement, if that makes any sense. So like if I say, hey, I played Far Cry New Dawn and I liked it, and then instead of being like, oh, that's his opinion, you get a lot of fuck you, that game's shit, no games, fuck you, unsub. It's a very different vibe. People don't really like gameplay reviews, and I've never considered myself a reviewer of gameplay. So if I were to approach it, I'd have to approach it in some sort of let's just play this and see what you guys think of it type of vibe. Does that make any sense? And Giovanna is warning me that if I don't do Shenmue streams before other things, that she'll cut me. I'm sure she speaks for all of you. Adam plays Fortnite. Oh, dude, I played a little bit of Fortnite recently, and that was just like up there with Minecraft as far as I'm old. I don't get it. I don't get it. Why don't you have weekly news bites with your opinions of news bites? Well, that's kind of what my podcast is, except it's not near. It's monthly. Um, I kind of save it for that because I look through. Here's my reasoning. I have never been that interested in news videos. I don't like that. I'll go through my subscriptions and I'll see like 8 different YouTubers who like cover like, hey, did you guys hear Xbox One discless? What? My thoughts for 10 minutes and 8 seconds so that I get the ad revenue. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I've never wanted that. I've been doing YouTube for a decade and that's never been my motivation. I will make a video on something I find interesting enough to make a video on. And that has consequences. I mean, it has severely limited my growth because I don't try to trick people into watching my videos. I don't say like, discless Xbox One update only available in my video exclusively, or what. I don't even know how to make clickbait titles, despite being accused of it from time to time. It's just not my thing. So I've never really felt the desire to do videos on every single video or subject that comes out. And if I know some people want my opinions, and you guys would be among them, I'm sure, because you're the ones actually watching me right now. But I've always felt like just kind of power around those in either these discussions that we do here or on the podcast, that type of thing. Perhaps there's a better way to do some sort of weekly roundup or something. But I don't want to go down that road of being considered like just another, hey, he does some news stuff sometimes. Like I don't want that. You know what I mean? Like it's not my thing. But yeah, the consequence of that is the amount of content one actually produces gets limited. Hence the possibility of opening it up to more gameplay stuff. But then that's when I sit there and I also think, like, I've never really done that either. So would that be embraced, or would that be something where you guys go, what the fuck? The whole channel's falling apart. He's done. You know, like, because I tried something different. That's why I'm asking. It's funny how many people think Sega is involved with Shenmue 3. I mean, to an extent, that makes sense because they were the ones that made it originally. Their only involvement with Shenmue 3 is they're the IP holder. They own the name Shenmue, they own the characters, but they were cool enough to let Yu Suzuki go off and do its own thing. They have a vested interest in making sure the game doesn't suck, but they no financial stake. In other words, they don't want it to suck because it hurts a brand they own, but they aren't actually responsible for creating the content whatsoever. So more or less, they're just like, please don't fuck it up. You could bring back your old show, Bad Movie Theater. That was fun. That would never fly today. Like, I do not have the kind of channel that's content ID immune, so there's no way. If you send a PS2 and or Xbox memory card with 99 interceptions for ESPN NFL football, would you make a video about unlocking Rio? I'm the guy who tweeted the original photos of it. No, thank you, by the way, but no, because it's just not really worth making a video about. Like, you know, the Shenmue Dojo should make that video, not me. Because what would I do? Like, hey guys, all this work was already done. There he is in the game. I don't understand hand egg. Let's go. Like, I'm not the right guy for that. My favorite thing on your channel is playload videos and console history. Best Buy seems to agree with you. Adam, you should start playing with slime. Apparently, that is the thing these days. What the fuck are you talking about? What does that mean? Love the history console videos. Thank you. Appreciate that. I already talked about the Shenmue trailer. I also already talked about why I'm not with GSP anymore. Stuff like that. Not that I'm opposed to answering these questions. Like, I just did already. So, you know, it'll be available later. Am I going to be an RGT85 Sega 32X book? I think that would be up to him. I'm guessing you're never coming to Wisconsin yet? Of course I'm going to go to Wisconsin. It's not far. Actually, funny, I was almost there yesterday. So when I was in New York, my route out got completely screwed up because of terrible weather. And so I was going through massive like rebooking issues. Where I ultimately got sent was to Boston for all of about 10 seconds, hence the thumbnail of this video, and then from Boston back to Chicago. But there was multiple possible options of cities. It was chaos at Newark Airport in New Jersey, man. It was fucking chaos. Everybody was getting rebooked through all sorts of shit. But Madison almost ended up being where I would have had to have changed planes because all the direct routes home to Chicago were completely oversold. It was insane. We got a super chat from Spill Politet. I'm sorry. Spill Politet. I'm sorry, I got nothing. Money for a good ice cream. You deserve it. Thank you. Although I gotta watch my weight, so I might use that for kale or something that's depressing. But still, thank you very much. Would you buy retro games from GameStop? No. Because I know a lot of people have done that. Actually, my buddy, I don't know if he's watching, Zebular, Jake Friedel, he's one of the guys who runs the Missouri Game Con. He actually does a whole series of videos on buying retro stuff from GameStop. And he does it because they're cheap. But at the same time, he also always kind of regrets it because he's like, oh, look, a game that came with no manuals or cases or anything. It's just disc only. It's kind of a fun series to watch on that basis. But I haven't seen them have any retro stuff in person. So I don't. I haven't had that interest. Although my buddy Jesse, who was in here earlier, he actually has the 20% off thing for GameStop still. So that's one of the things he and I do in San Francisco from time to time when there's spare time is we were just like hopping around going to GameStops to see if there was anything. But it's very rare that I find anything at a GameStop that I would want. Adam, make a video of you covering your Dreamcast in slime, then poke around at it. You'll probably trend immediately. That's another thing. I don't chase trends. You know, I'm kind of a dinosaur in that, but whatever. Did I hear about the whole Google console thing? Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Um, Adam, do a video of you eating your favorite ice cream. Nah, man, I gotta lose weight. Can't do it. Space Channel 5 VR. What are your thoughts? I don't care. Anything VR is like, okay, bye. Like, I'm not into it. You guys hear the sirens? There they are. They're coming to get me. Wow. How clear is that? Can you guys hear it? Tell me if you heard that. Missouri GameCon, I'm probably going. I will know closer to that time. That's when event season starts, so it starts to get really, really difficult. Did I ever play the hot coffee mod in GTA San Andreas? No, I did not. Okay, good. You guys did hear it. Okay. I love living in Chicago, but like any major city, that is the worst fucking part is just sirens, man. Irritating as hell. If I ever thought about teaming up with Rerez to do some hot take episodes, it would be interesting to hear your thoughts bouncing off each other on certain subjects. I've been in one actually. I went into one. I was on one when all these like Dreamcast Mini and Classic, collection rumors or whatever. I just showed up because I was already there anyway. So I have actually been on one, but as like a regular thing, like no, he lives in another country, so it's like I have to. There has to be like a specific reason for me to go there. Hey, Mike, Sega CD Universe. Been a long time. He says, have you ever played Omicron the Nomad Soul? Really enjoyed that one. I have not. I should. That's another like little vision passion project of mine is that I would really like to go back and actually play a lot more Dreamcast content, but it's difficult. PS2 to HD screen, best way, please. I assume you mean how to best configure the PlayStation 2. Watch my recent Retro Tink video, which Castlevania Games, by the way, is provided. Go ahead and watch that. That actually is my current best solution for PlayStation 2. Fuck, man. Listen to those goddamn sirens. I hate that. Anyway, by the way, I'm also giving away stuff tonight. Well, more accurately, Castlemania Games is giving away stuff tonight. If you're interested, check the link in the description. He's giving away, Ryan is cool enough to give away 5 Sega Genesis USB controllers. All you have to do is click on the Twitter link, follow me, follow him, retweet that tweet, you're entered. That's it. Game hunting in Atlanta, suggestions. I've never found anything in Atlanta to buy as far as video games go, and I've been there for a couple of different video game events. There's just certain cities that are like completely dead as far as retro game stores is concerned. That's one of them that I know of anyway. The San Francisco, like the entire Bay Area, fucking dead. Guys like Jesse will tell you that it's all about like finding individual collectors who are just trying to get rid of their shit. Like actual stores, not a thing. Chicago, I'm sad to say, is one of them. We have like one left, and like everything else is just done. There's just some places that suck at that. Hit up Rich or Happy Console Gamer for a collab. I did do a video with Rich a number of years ago. As for Happy Console Gamer, he and I talk from time to time. He actually Skyped with me the day that the Shenmue re-release came out because he just wanted to thank me for all the effort I put into that. And yeah, he and I have spoken multiple times. But funny enough, he's one of the YouTubers on that like there's like this niche of like collection of retro gaming YouTubers that I know most of them. He's one of the few that I know that I've never actually met. Video game hunting in SK would be so cool. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, probably South Korea. Yeah, that'd be fun to do. At some point, my buddy Fox, who's in the chat right now, I'm going to force him to bring me out there, and we're going to hang out. I'm going to tell him I get to stay at his place, the honor of letting me stay at his place, and we're going to go hunting in South Korea. You can all thank Fox in advance. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I mean, I'd love to do that, but I'm just kidding about pushing him on it. But Fox, come on. Actually, the problem with video game hunting in South Korea, as I understand it, is that a lot of it's being the way it's been described to me is that Koreans don't value a lot of that stuff the way, say, Japanese people might do. And as a result, a lot of that stuff just gets discarded and is kind of like lost to history. So finding it in the wild at this point is rather difficult. But again, I haven't been there, so I don't know. Recently, I used the PS2 to HDMI adapter with my PC monitor and it was just flickering. Any ideas why? There's too many possible reasons for that. But that little adapter you're talking about in particular is a piece of shit. Even the pound cable one, which is much better, is still not that good. So yeah, the PS2, man, is just a pain in the ass. Video game hunting in Guam. Actually, there's 3 places I can think of. There's 2 GameStops, which is GameStop. But actually, GameStop in Guam's not bad because they end up with a lot of stock of stuff that is harder to find back in home that they still have. Like, for example, I found Katamari Damacy Reroll or whatever it was, which is a GameStop exclusive, still there. And Guam doesn't have sales tax, which was even nicer. But there was one retro game store that didn't advertise itself as one. It's in, I forget where it is. Fox, can you help me on this one? I gave you the address to it. It's in a mall next to one of the other GameStops. And it has like some name like Techland or something like that, just like a computery type of thing. But inside, it was just probably the only retro game store in that entire island. And I got some pretty good stuff there. Video game hunting in Virginia. Haven't been to Virginia since I was a kid. I don't know. Yeah, as Fox says, GameStops in Guam have a remoteness advantage. They actually have stocked items. Have you ever considered doing travel videos because you travel that much? I kind of do. I've done a lot of like game store hunting type of videos from other countries, but I don't think that people would actually want to see me be like, "Hey guys, I'm going to Paris." Woo woo. You know, like fucking I don't even know how those guys do that. Like what that is that video. Like, "All right guys, here's my ticket. I'm totally going to get on the plane. Oh my god, look, here's footage of me in a plane. Holy shit." And then I get there and it's like, "Guys, look, the airport, look, stuff's in French." Like, what is that? Like, nobody wants to go around watching a tourism video like that. That's just not me. So whenever I do stuff like that, I, act like you've been there before. And then just, if you're going to do anything about a video of it, like, just show highlights that are relevant to your content. So in my case, be like, we went video game hunting in this place and here's that. Like, there's no reason to, like, see the entire thing. I guess that would be an entirely different channel altogether. Like, Nerd Goes Traveling or something, and I just act like an asshole everywhere I go or whatever. I don't perceive traveling as maybe this is a fucked up thing to say, but I don't perceive traveling as a super exciting thing because I do it so often that it's just kind of, to me, it's almost like riding a bus. Like, to me, going to San Francisco has gotten to the point where it's almost like going out to the suburbs of Chicago. Like, it's even easier because I just have to get to the airport and then the plane does all the work. It doesn't have that allure to me anymore. So I don't know if that would even be interesting to people. I don't know how to present that as interesting. See, like Fox says, I respect Adam's single-mindedness. He adapted to Japan very fast. And I appreciate that. That's a huge compliment. That's the Fox, everybody, by the way. Steele's father. He's the dude I'm always talking about in videos. He's basically my Obi-Wan Kenobi for Asia. He's given me all sorts of travel advice for that region. And I've learned a lot from him. Respect the hell out of this man. But as he points out, like, I never have that like intimidation of going to a new place. I just kind of like, all right, let's go and do this and whatever. Have I ever been to Texas? Yeah, I went like 4 times last year alone. Like, I get around, man. The airport folks know Adam by name. Funny enough, you're not even totally wrong. There are 2 TSA agents at O'Hare International Airport that know me on a first name basis. It's just how it is. Travel documentaries. You love travel documentaries. But see, that's the thing. You have to have an objective. Like, when I go to things, it's not for recreation. It's always, like, hey, I'm going to go and I got some business to take care of and then I go back. Like, that, you're not there to make a movie about the experience of like, hey, we're going to Sacramento and we're gonna see like, you know, the old West town they've got set up and that fancy train and the boat restaurant, or we're going to San Francisco, we're gonna study the bridge, we're gonna do. It's more like, no, I gotta fucking go there, I gotta do this thing, and then I'm leaving. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that anybody would really value that. And it's funny that you guys are suggesting that though, because that's not the first time I've ever been told that. Like I have been told that it would be kind of interesting to see some sort of you know, a different entity, maybe a different type of Instagram profile or something of just, you know, traveling. But I don't know, man, like that's like almost creating another job for myself, and I don't know if I really want to do that. Plus I don't feel passion for it. Does that make any sense? I don't want to sling bullshit. Let's put it that way. I don't want to sling bullshit. I want to make content out of things I actually believe in. Fox, like he says, I'm in agreement about travel. Once you get to the point where you have your favorite Wi-Fi spot in the airport, you know you're done with travel. Exactly. You know, and when Fox and I go to Japan, I mean, you know, I have to know. I hope you don't mind me saying this, Fox, but like often he just wants to crash in the hotel room, doesn't want to do anything, and I have to like drag him outside, be like, dude, let's go to the store. But like, what else do I want to do? Nothing. I'm like, I want to go to the store. Like, I know this area of Japan now. The shrine is cool, but let's go past it and see if we can buy any shit. You know, like that's really all that there is to that type of thing. I love how Adam just shows up, then eats something, then goes elsewhere. Yeah, that's not even like close to farcical. Like I do that all the time. If I went to Boston yesterday for about 10 minutes. If that had been about a half hour, I might have eaten something there just to be like, oh, Boston. But other than that, no. Yeah. I'm going to China over the summer. Do you have any tips? Unfortunately, no. I have never been to China. It depends on what part. If you're talking like Hong Kong, I mean, I've never been, but I know at least as an American, you can just go and be there for 90 days. Mainland China, you're going to need a visa and stuff to do anything. So actually, Fox might have tips for you. Oh, Fox loves 7-Eleven. Loves it. It's like the easiest way to coax him out of the room. Hey, man, let's go to 7-Eleven and you can get those like little dry stick things you like. He likes these like cracker stick things. It's like, oh, all right, fine. And then we'll get a coffee and that's it. Oh yeah, Giovanna's been to Hong Kong and mainland China. Maybe she has some advice. Have you ever been to Kansas City? Yeah, I'm sure I have been. I hit all 50 states by the time I was 13. I don't know if he's still watching. Rob Janos and I are in a battle to complete all of America, which means the 50 states, Washington, D.C., as well as the 5 territories. I have all 50 states, D.C., and 2 territories, those 2 being Guam and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. He has 49 states plus D.C. plus Puerto Rico plus the U.S. Virgin Islands. So I'm winning by 1, but he's also got 2 of the easier territories, and I got the 2 harder ones. But the single hardest one is American Samoa, which I don't know how the fuck I'm ever going to get there. Shenmue 3 not having throw moves is sad. Yeah, dude, I actually just found out about that while I was on this. I went to New York the other day, and I was on a podcast with Kareem Jovian, huge YouTuber. But he wanted me out in New York to film on his show. And we just did a podcast with Shenmue for an hour. And he brought that to my attention. I had no idea. I had never heard that. So it's a little disappointing, but at the same time, as he and I both discussed, we both kind of came to the same consensus, which is I never really used the throw moves anyway. Like I wasn't any good at them. And if the game itself, you can use the financial assets of that in other places, then so be it. Is it a bummer? Yeah, but it probably paid off in other ways. Jesse says, I can also vouch that Adam just arrives and then wants to eat. He's right, man. Like, I'm going to see Jesse tomorrow. I'm going to land in San Francisco. He's going to pick me up, and then that's it. We're just going to go. It's like, hey, he could be like, hey, man, so you're in town, which never happens except every other fucking week because of San Francisco. Do you want to go do this? Do you want to see Golden State? Do you want to go to Alcatraz? I'm like, no, let's get a fucking burrito and go on. Like, I don't need any of this shit. Like, it's just how it is. Why did you travel so much as a kid? You could blame my mom for that one. In her job, she was constantly required to travel, so you wonder where I got that. But she basically would always drag myself and my sister along. So, and then unlike myself, she decided we would always make like little trips out of it and stuff, since it was all paid for by her company and stuff. So, yeah. Do you still count Commonwealth as state? You're gonna have to give me an example. I don't think there are any Commonwealth examples within the United States. There's territories, but I'm not familiar with any Commonwealths. You're from Canada. Okay, that changes it. Puerto Rico should be a state, as should DC. The only people against it are Republicans in Congress. No politics here, but you're not entirely wrong. Like it's a lot of the territories probably should just be integrated as states. Guam is totally ready to be a state. Puerto Rico is very ready to be a state. Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands may not be ready, but I've only been there for like a day. Oh, Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands isn't a state. Yeah, I guess you're right. It's right there in the fucking name, isn't it? I think that it uses that term because it's a series of islands all kind of represented under one thing. But yeah, you are absolutely right. Four states refer to themselves as commonwealths. Okay, then never mind. I withdraw that statement. Did you know the Japanese voice actor of Ryo, Masaya Matsukaze, was also the Blue Ranger in Denji Sentai Mega Ranger, the Japanese version of Power Rangers in space? I don't know if I knew that specifically. I knew he was a Power Ranger. I met him once in Washington, D.C. last year, and he signed my copy of Shenmue, actually. So I've got this copy signed by Yu Suzuki, signed by Corey Marshall, and signed by Masaya Matsukaze. Making Puerto Rico a state would be terrible financially. They're basically bankrupt, and we'd have to foot the bill if they became one. We kind of already have to. They're still part of the U.S. Like I don't know the specifics on that, but at the end of the day, the people living there are American citizens, and I don't know what state or territory or where you are from, but can you not see that flipped the other way? If your state, everybody said you're lesser, you're not good enough to be part of the country, even though you had full rights and full citizenship. Could you see how that might be slung as kind of insulting? Um, I'm of the philosophy you do one of two things with the territories. You either grant them their independence or you make them full-fledged states. Especially American Samoa, which is still stuck in American national status, which is ridiculous. In a weird way, so there's three other countries we have a compact of free association with: the Federated States of Micronesia, Palau, and I can't remember the other one offhand. But there's three countries in that part of the world. And what that basically means is the people, they used to be territories, and the people living there have the right to come and live within the United States, just as Americans have the right to go and live there, just a free exchange. And those people are not American citizens, yet they actually have more rights than the American citizens or nationals living in American Samoa. So it's weird. It's something that needs to be updated. But then again, I'm not running for government, any sort of government office. In a weird way, Shenmue has a connection with Power Rangers. Yeah, I can see that. As Giovanna points out, everybody, you can win free stuff tonight if you want to. There's a link in the description to my Twitter, a very specific tweet. If you follow me and follow Castlemania Games and retweet that tweet, you're automatically entered to win a couple of Sega Genesis USB controllers. Highly recommend you try it out. Thank you to Castlemania Games. Puerto Rico rejected the idea of becoming a state. No, they did not. They are all the way at the point where it's just a congressional vote away. Corey Marshall's wife is awesome. We talked about Jollibee and other foods when we were all at Bob's Big Boy. Yeah, so if you guys don't know, there was a Shenmue meetup in Los Angeles last month, which I went out to. And I was an MC for that, which was a lot of fun. Hung out with Corey again, as always, and Liesel was one of the actresses from Shenmue 2. And yeah, we just had a good time. And then afterwards, Corey invited us all to go out to Bob's Big Boy, which is a national chain that most Americans don't remember. It's, if you ever saw the first Austin Powers, and there's this like big like fat lard lad type of dude who flies into space, and that's where Dr. Evil like lives for 30 years. That's actually the mascot of a real place called Bob's Big Boy. It is a national chain, but we went to the original one, the first one, which is in Burbank, California. So we all went there and just hung out. It was fun. Nate Davis super chats $1, but doesn't leave a comment. But thank you, Nate. Am I going to fill out an NCAA tournament bracket? Hell no. I do not do college basketball. That is pointless. I'll watch you in the NBA, but not college. Shenmue 3 hype. Yeah. I'm gonna I have to see if I can get permission to re-upload that stream, because we live streamed the entire thing. And I got the stream, but I don't know if I have consent yet to upload it. Would you guys want to see that? Would you want that uploaded to this channel? It was just an hour of Corey and Liesel being interviewed. I was the MC, I was the host of the event, talking to the fans and just, whatever. Tell me if that's of interest to you. Will Disney finally kill The Simpsons after the Fox acquisition is done? No, they extended it for 2 seasons. Does Japan have the wildest range of snack flavors? So when it comes to that, there are 3 countries that are truly, legitimately insane with snack food variety: the United States, Japan, and then the third one that people never give any credit to is Australia. Australia has ridiculously awesome levels of junk food. But yeah, Japan does have a massive variety of stuff, and my Fox actually explained this to me very well, but I don't know if he would want me to say this out loud. So if he says it's okay, I will explain it, because I got this from him, because it's kind of a weird explanation. Do you think Shenmue 3 will receive good reviews? I hope so. I mean, that's the thing with Shenmue, is it either completely captivates you or it simply just irritates you. Like, that's really all there is to it. Do you think Nintendo will release a refined version of the Switch in the future? When you say refined, do you mean like upgraded or just like more efficient? I know they made some changes already so that the thing isn't as easily hacked. Stuff like that. Did they take down that live stream from Burbank? Well, Twitch streams only last for 2 weeks, but they gave me the actual source video. I think that they intend to upload it to their own channel. I honestly don't know. It's all I know is I have it. It's safe. Fox doesn't remember the explanation. All right, then I'm just going to go ahead and say it. What Fox told me about Japanese people is Japanese life is very monotonous and very rigid, and you don't really get much of a break. And so one of the few things to kind of keep it exciting is different types of snack foods to try. Hence you get the oatmeal-based Snickers bar and stuff like that, or all the crazy Kit Kats. Do Canadians come off as complacent to you? No. They come off as Canadians. They come off as people. Nate says, I know you're not much of a Halo fan, but what is your thought of the seemingly no Halo content being pumped out? Does Microsoft just not care about trying to stay relevant anymore? I mean, it's hard to argue that they ever cared about being, having big exclusive games. To me, the Xbox One to them is just something to ride out until they get to the next platform with whatever that model is. And I think that at this point they're just trying to recoup any sort of funding they can from the Halo Master Chief Collection, especially because aren't they re-releasing that for PC now? So yeah, I've said for a long time I don't think that exclusivity is their priority. I've said I think that they are going to be some sort of streaming service. Whether or not that means Nintendo integration or not is still, very much up in the air. We'll see how that goes. American life is pretty monotonous too. Not nearly the same. It's not nearly as rigid. Is the green tea Kit Kat any good? It's fine. It's probably the most common of the imports, but like Japan has all sorts of insane ones for better or for worse. Actually, if you go back and watch any of the live streams I've done with Shane Rerez, you can see a ton of them because I would always bring him back a bunch. Thoughts on the YouTube channel The Bit Block? I'm not familiar with it. Who's your favorite Shenmue NPC and why? Congo from Shenmue 2. If you go to Kowloon, right after you go up, when you first get there and you go up Dragon Street, and that's when Ren's escorting you into Kowloon, he will be like, we're going to go inside this building and whatever. If you just take a veer just to the left, there's this dude standing, he's shirtless dude standing outside of a doorway. His name is Congo. And he talks like a complete idiot, and he speaks in the third person. And what he's trying to do is get you to, work for him. It's just teaching you that you can move through the whole crate lifting job over there. And I think that shit is hilarious. Oh no, Congo! Like he says like weird shit. It's just, I've always found him funny. Like in a so bad it's hilarious funny. How's my Nihongo? My Japanese is not very good. Fox can attest to that. I can get a couple of sentences that can get me through certain situations, and each time I go there, I try to pick up a couple extra phrases here and there, things that would be practically useful. But yeah, that's about it. I've already talked about the whole Google Sega thing. I think people are making too big of a deal out of it. Yeah, Fox has been to the actual Kowloon. Good for him. I never got to go. Thanks, Fox, for the invite. Are you better at reading or speaking Japanese? Definitely speaking. I did take a Japanese class in college where I actually, at the time, learned very basic hiragana, but I forgot most of it. I know a couple of the symbols still, but like nothing that would actually be practically useful. Adam's being humble. I've heard much shittier Japanese. Thank you. Again, guys, don't forget to enter that Twitter contest. Also appreciate it if you want to at any time. Donations are always appreciated. You can do PayPal. There's information in the description about that. Or you can do Super Chat, whatever you want, or nothing. It's all up to you. Caleb's heading out. Good night, Caleb. Do you think we'll ever see Shenmue 4 if Shenmue 3 sells poorly? No. Shenmue 4's fate is entirely determined by the success or failure of Shenmue 3. Yu Suzuki was very much on the record that if what he said specifically was, if Shenmue fans are unhappy with the third game, there won't be a fourth one. Now, that doesn't necessarily translate into sales. He might, if it sells poorly but is still beloved, there might be some burning desire to still make another one, but who would finance that is highly debatable. Because while you might argue, hey, fans did it before, they might do it again. Fans did it after waiting at that point for 14 years. Shenmue 3 had almost like meme level status, like Half-Life 3 of just where is it. Shenmue 4 does not have that. So the idea that, hey, we just released this game, it didn't do very well. Anyway, do you want Shenmue 4? Here's another Kickstarter. I just don't see them doing that. So we'll see. I hope it sells well because that's what I think is essential. How far into the stream did you discuss GSP? That was pretty much near the beginning. Why no love for college basketball, Adam? Because the NBA exists. Do you have any SG-1000 games? Yes. Yes, I do. I picked up a few in Japan. Did you hear what J.K. Rowling said about Harry Potter recently? I did not. Don't people get upset with her because she changes stuff about continuity there? What do you think of the Vita? I didn't think much about it, man. It's a handheld platform I never picked up. I mean, I know people loved it, but handhelds, man, I just never... I would have picked up a Vita if it had the Switch like dock to it, like if you could just easily connect it to a television. I think it had some sort of cables or something, but it just wasn't the same. Where do you think Anthony Davis will go? See, I would love to believe that because he's from Chicago, some part of him would have a desire to go here, but he's not a free agent, which means he's going to be traded. And that gives him very limited value because essentially all you can do is rent him for a season. And I think originally his short list included the Lakers, but I don't think he'd want to walk into that situation now, and I'm glad. That's actually one of the reasons I do not like the Lakers is their whole, like, we win all the time, we're so successful. It's like you're successful because you have this really great spot. Los Angeles is a great city, but you've been basically farming out years, just like all the talent that grows around the NBA, and then you pick it and steal it, and I just think that's awful. There's there are certain exceptions, of course, but Lakers teams don't generally organically become good. They usually do that by forcing backdoor deals. Like that even includes Kobe Bryant, who was originally a Charlotte Hornet, but there were backdoor deals that forced him to Los Angeles. Because as his marketing team thought, you can't become a superstar in Charlotte, so you have to get out of there. So they forced his hand over to LA. And it's just like, I don't like that. Can I confirm the release of Half-Life 3? No, I cannot. uh, Fox says that he and I found a Naomi board in Yokohama. I forget the name of that book off. It was a hard off. I don't remember if it was Yokohama. I know it was the last one. It was near Ebina. Remember? It was near Ebina. Let me, if you don't mind, let me see if I can find it on Google Maps. Ebina, Japan. So let's see if we can find near this area. I might recognize it on a map, so let's see here. That whole area. Man. It was the one that had... We were on this... Okay. I think it was this one. As if you're looking at my screen. Yeah, my phone says I was... Google says I was there 3 months ago. It's one away from the Sakuragaoka stop. So the address to that was Yamato. It was Yamato. I'm putting the address to this. Yeah. That address, that's a hard off in near Ebina, part of near Tokyo, Japan. That one had a Naomi board in the junk bin. We didn't get it, though. Excuse me. Do you think Sega will ever do anything with Jet Set Radio? I'm sure they'd love to, but I think a lot of the music is the problem in that game. We need an Adam NBA playoffs podcast. I don't think so. I don't. That's another one of those things where I think that not enough people would care. You're right. That was the one that cost you Thanksgiving. Oh, fucking yeah. No. That was a bad day. That was a bad day. So I went out. That was for the whole IGN Japan thing, and Fox was cool enough. He was going to be around, so we hung out. And the way that was supposed to work is I was going to go back to the airport on Thanksgiving, but because of time zones, I would fly in, I would land, and it would be Thanksgiving in the States, and I would still have time to go see my family and stuff. On the way there, I'm on one of the trains, and a dude jumps in front of the train, delays it. Long story short, I don't make my flight. So I had to delay my flight until the next day, which they were very amicable about. But at the same time, Fox was cool enough to get me a hotel room for that night, just right outside of the Narita airport. So Fox is the true MVP. And then I felt really bad because I had to, I had to talk to my family over the phone and be like, sorry, I'm an idiot. Although it wasn't really my fault. Like, dude jumps in front of the train. What are you going to do? And funny enough, I was actually invited back to Japan the next month, again for IGN Japan for like this Shenmue like fan event they were doing, but it was going to happen on Christmas Eve, and I was like, oh, in theory, I'll be back for my own Christmas. I was like, no, I'm not risking this again. So I didn't end up going back there. Zmod Super Chat. Just wanted to say thank you. Your videos inspired me to keep collecting and tried to get better picture quality out of my collection. I just picked up a FrameMeister and an Acura will be installing next week. Well, thank you very much for the donation. That's very nice of you. I'm sorry to spread the collector's curse to you. That's not really the best thing, but still, thank you very much. And I appreciate that you're watching. If you have questions specifically about any of that stuff, let me know, because that whole thing can just be so damn intimidating. It's one of my fantasies to somehow be involved in creating like the ultimate replacement for the FrameMeister. Maybe one day. PF Frangos Super Chat says, thoughts on Garpax and the Bulls organization. I joked about this with my buddy Rob the other day. I was extremely tired, and if Rob's still watching, he'll attest to this. I was like loopy and totally out of it. And at one point, hey, Rob, what? I just want to thank you for what? For having the New York Knicks. And he just laughed. Because I was like, the New York Knicks are the only team in the league that make the Chicago Bulls look competent. The only one. Their management is by far the worst. So I appreciate the New York Knicks just to make the Bulls be the second stupidest team in the league. So if that tells you what I think about Garpax, a.k.a. Bulls management. Thank you for the super chat. Have you ever attempted completing the notebook in Shenmue? Isn't that actually impossible because certain pieces of information can only show up if other pieces of information do or do not show up? I don't think it's actually possible to do that. Ryan's heading out for a bit. He says congratulations to all the winners in advance, which again is a little reminder. You can win free stuff tonight, everybody. There's a tweet in the description of this video. Go to that tweet, follow me, follow Castlemania Games, and retweet that tweet. You are entered to win free Sega Genesis USB controllers provided by Castlemania Games. What's my favorite anime? I don't have one. I'm not into anime at all. What does the word Shenmue mean? Well, technically that's a spoiler if you want me to answer that. The Bulls can't even do a proper tank. The Knicks are better than the Bulls at that in regard. Yep. Every once in a while, since the All-Star break, the Bulls have been like oddly okay. Like they're setting up for a playoff run. It's like, no, what are you doing? Tank. Get the draft pick. What are you doing? Stop it. Do you have official VHS about Shenmue? Yes, I do. I assume we're talking about the one with Shenhua on the cover. I have that. How do you shop online when you're under 18 without a credit card? You don't, or your parents say it's okay, I guess. What's my favorite game? For real? Shenmue. What's your fantasy ending about Shenmue? In other words, your dream ending. How would you want it to conclude? I don't want to think about it. Like I would the whole point is I don't want to be able to predict what that ending is. I want Yu Suzuki to tell me the story that he wants. I don't have any sort of specific fantasy of how that should conclude, especially because the material we have is so not far into what was originally conceived of the Shenmue timeline. So it would be like predicting how the end of Return of the Jedi is when you're like at Attack of the Clones or something, you know? Why is the camera quality so good now? It's not. I'm just using a webcam instead of my normal camera. Am I going back to Game Society? No, I have no plans to do that. I am pursuing different interests. Have I ever met and had a chat with Yu Suzuki? Alas, I have not. I would like to. I almost had that possibility happen a couple weeks ago. There was a possibility I was going to go to Magic Monaco, which I know he was at, but the timing just didn't work. Fox is heading out. Thank you very much, Fox. Can you do a game room tour? That will only be, if I ever do that, it'll be my last video ever. Have I ever watched any Godzilla movies? I've watched all Godzilla movies. I have every single one of them on DVD or Blu-ray. Even the super elusive Godzilla 1985, which I don't know how many people care about Godzilla specifically, but that one is like the story to tell because of how weird it is. So if anybody cares, I'll tell it. The Derrick Rose jersey is fine. I just moved it off site because I set up lights so it would just be a blinding light reflecting back into the camera. Have you tried the SCART cables from Castlevania games? No, I didn't even know if he sold SCART cables. Recently, I mean, I have a bunch of the HD Retrovision ones, but those are component based. The other thing about that whole like show your collection thing is I think people envision that there must be this like museum like room full of extreme organization that's very well tendered and all that stuff. That's not a thing. Like I do my best to organize the games and keep them clean as I can, but they're kind of like a little bit like where they fit logic. Not to say like, hey, here's a shelf and it's just full of totally fucking random games. Like they're organized, they're alphabetized, but they're in different rooms and stuff, and just kind of here's where they fit, here's where they fit, here's where they fit. So in order to produce a video like that, I would have to actually sit down and really think of it. What's one game you don't have that you want the most? You're the best YouTuber. Well, thank you. Kind of read that a little like, you're my favorite customer. The room. There you go. I don't know. I think I might go with Warhammer 40k for the Nokia N-Gage, because if I had that, which is a hard as shit game to find, I would have another console, set, platform, what have you, completely finished. So that would be good. Now, would I actually play that? No. But I want it for that reason. What's the last game you picked up for the Switch? You will have to watch the next episode of Playload, sir. The last game you played on 3DO. Man, you know what's funny is we're talking about GSP. It's probably that. It was probably like The Coven or one of those horrible things that we did a video on. I don't think I've even bothered to turn on a 3DO since. Does the Boeing incident affect your future travels? Highly unlikely, as I refuse to fly Southwest Airlines, and I unlikely to affect it because I rarely fly American Airlines. Mostly, if I can, I'll fly United, and United has none of those in their fleet. Favorite arcade game to play, like old school one, Simpsons Arcade, which I only recently finally got the chance to finish and beat last year in the UK. Played it with my buddy Ben, and we just sat down and we beat the shit out of that thing. It was a lot of fun. All those years, I had never beaten it before. We just got a donation on PayPal. Thank you very much. He says, you can just call me Richie. Is there a SCART cable that will allow you to daisy chain the Bandrit switch box? I only get a little bit of audio when I try. Also, does the M cable add anything if connected to the FrameMeister? So you got a couple of questions in there. First of all, thank you for the donation. Daisy chain. I don't see why you would have to daisy chain the Bandrich box unless you need two of them. Is that what you're saying? Can you clarify that in the chat? Assuming that's what you mean, I guess any high grade one that goes from the output of one of them into the input of the other, and then you would have an additional like 4 slots or whatever it is, so that would give you a total of I think 9 SCART based devices you could use. As for your second part of the M cable, yes, though it depends entirely on what console you're using and what settings you have. So what I've come recently to learn is when it comes to the FrameMeister content, if you're taking, say, the Sega Saturn, and you throw the Sega Saturn into the FrameMeister, and then you want to connect the FrameMeister to the M cable, what you should do for optimum results is set the FrameMeister to 480p instead of 1080p. This will allow the M cable to do all the processing instead of interpreting pre-processed footage. and that will result in a better, more buffed out image. If I had known that at the time I made the video originally, I would have mentioned as such, but I didn't know that. So I have since learned that. I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much, Richie. SCART isn't a format that traditionally has much lag that I've noticed, so odds are any like high-end nice SCART cable would be good. But yeah, I can't cite any particular examples, as I'm pretty much at the mercy of any of those that are just kind of sent my way because SCART didn't exist here. Have you ever thought about moving to Japan for a long period of time, like 5+ years? Absolutely not. I like Japan as a tourist, and then I want to leave. Like I would not want to live there. Are you going to watch the Batman versus Ninja Turtles animated movie? Is that a thing? I had not heard about that. Last time I missed your stream because the stream shut down, so here we go again. Do you think that the Japanese prefer more physical media in general, including video games? I know they do. It's the only place in the world where magazines are still super popular, man. The Japanese love physical stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Jake, what up, man? I actually gave you a shout earlier. I was talking about your GameStop series where you like pick up stuff that's all used from GameStop. Is Osaka better to stay in than Tokyo? It depends on your objectives. Osaka is definitely cheaper than Tokyo. Tokyo is a city you don't want to stay in. You want to stay in the outskirts of Tokyo and the other cities that are, how do I put this? Tokyo is like a city of cities. Like there's Tokyo proper, and then there's like smaller places like Yokohama, Yokosuka, Ebina, etc. Like you want to go to those places because it'll be vastly cheaper while still being in the greater Tokyo area. It's kind of like, from an American perspective, almost like all of the Bay Area isn't just San Francisco. That includes Oakland. It includes San Mateo. It includes San Jose. You know, it includes a whole bunch of shit up there. So it's kind of like that. It would be like landing at Tokyo's, Narita Airport and then getting the fuck out of there and going like way the hell far away from it and staying there. But again, that depends on your goals. I don't know what you're gonna do. If you want to do video game hunting, either one is good. The Tokyo Bay area will have infinitely more like hard offs, but Osaka is a lot easier to get around. So, and ultimately a cheaper location. I would only go to downtown Tokyo proper for just the allure of seeing things like Super Potato, but never actually buying anything there. What games are you planning to stream on this channel? Nothing specific. It was just a general idea. Have I ever been to the Pink Gorilla in Seattle? Yes, many times. My buddy Kelsey, she's one of my best friends, and she runs the thing. Yeah, I was there as recently as, what was it, last September? Ninja Turtles for life. People are, I'm assuming, talking about those GameStop exclusive figures. Those were actually pretty successful. I saw those too. I was kind of considering getting them, but didn't end up doing it. I should collaborate with myself. It's a weird suggestion. What's my view on the end of Machinima? I will miss them. They were always good to me. Just a heads up, guys. I'm thinking about wrapping this up relatively soon because I have a flight in the morning, so I need to get some sleep. Have I seen John Hancock's collection? Not in person, though. I think I will be doing that relatively soon because we're all going to go out to Cowlitz, Washington, which is actually his convention. I'm going to be there, and then most of the Metal Jesus crew is going to be there. Did I see the Sonic cartoon as a kid? Which one? Sonic Saddam or the other one, like the kid-friendly one? Either way, yes. Do you think Shenmue 3 will have DLC? I kind of hope not. The start cables from Castlevania are called Insurrection Gaming. That's what I bought and I have not tried them yet. Now I'm totally unfamiliar with those. When do you think the best time to start collecting Vita games would be now that it's out of production? Probably before they had announced that. I think that that'll kind of drive stuff up for a bit, and then it'll probably fall off again. But I think Vita is ultimately going to be one that a lot of people collect for, so kind of up to you. Is there anything missing from your Shenmue merchandise collection? Oh, I'm sure there is. I have no specific examples to cite, but I'm sure there is. Do you think the Xbox One X right now is underappreciated? To what extent? Like I think people generally recognize how great of a piece of hardware it is, but whether or not they care is another matter. Because when you don't put particularly exciting exclusive experiences on the console, it's kind of hard to care. You just go like, well, that's the best way to play a multiplat. Okay, cool. Is there more Sega Saturn / Dreamcast clothing merch in Japan or the US? Japan. Although finding it isn't always the easiest thing, especially for a bigger guy like myself, finding a size that it's actually wearable for me, not really. Which is kind of nice in a weird way because you're like, well, I can't, there's no reason to buy it. Thoughts on George Carlin? Uh, Always liked his material, but funny enough, I still associate him more with Thomas the Tank Engine than anything else. As weird as that is. To me, whenever I saw his stand up, or if he appeared in a movie, you know, like I know he did a bunch of Kevin Smith movies and stuff, I was always like, what is Mr. Conductor doing here? I'm sorry, it's just kind of how I always knew him. If you had a Vita, would you use the remote play option to play PS4 games on the toilet? No, because I have a TV. And I don't mind like taking. I'm fine with not gaming in all situations. Like I can take a shit comfortably and then go back to the game. Once again, guys, I'm going to remind you that you can go to that Twitter link in the description right now if you like, and enter to win some free stuff. Just go to the tweet, follow me, follow Castlemania Games, and retweet that tweet. Boom, you're entered to win USB Sega Genesis controllers by Castlemania Games. It's international as well. You don't have to be an American. Up to you guys if you want to do it. Cax is heading out. Good night. Thoughts on Hawaii and our game hunting scene. When I was last in Hawaii, it was last summer. I didn't really do much game hunting. I went to one of the book offs near one of the malls on Oahu. I think I picked up a GameCube game that was surprisingly affordable. But other than that, I didn't really do anything. Like I wasn't looking for. I don't think there were any retro game stores, and I don't think I was really looking for anything specifically. Plus, at that point, to be honest, I had just come back from Japan. Like I went through from Japan to Guam, Guam to Hawaii, Hawaii back to Chicago. So my bags were like completely full of stuff from Japan. So it was kind of not in my best interest to actually look around for stuff anyway. So yeah, that's like a half baked thought there. Like I didn't see much of a gaming scene there, but at the same time, I wasn't really looking. Listen to Giovanna, everybody. Thank you, Giovanna. How long do your shits last where you need to play a game? Right, Rocky? I've never run into that problem. I think it was the Pearl Ridge book off you went to. Possibly. It's near like a Don Quixote. It's in a mall. I think the actual book off is inside of like a grocery store or something. Do I have the GameCube component cables? Yes, I do. Although I don't really use them. I use the GCHD, or I actually have a HDMI modded GameCube. That's the one I actually use primarily. All right, we're gonna go for like another 15 minutes, and then I'm out of here. Okay, everybody. So this is kind of like final round. If you want to do any sort of donations to make your questions the priority. If not, we're just gonna chill for another 15 minutes or so. Normally, I wouldn't cut it off this early, but I have a flight in the morning. There's also sanitary problems with playing in the restroom. I agree with that. Apparently, Lucasfilm is expanding their games division. Have you heard about this? No, I haven't. I've not heard anything about that. That would be kind of fascinating because they turned it over to EA, so that would suggest that they're planning to take it back. Because I'm pretty sure LucasArts just doesn't exist anymore. What do you think about the Persona series? I never really tried it. My view on the Atari Jaguar. It's... I mean, I did an entire video on my thoughts of it, but basically, long story short, I thought it's an underrated console that's very interesting from a historical standpoint. And it's kind of a fun one to collect, even though it's really not that great of a machine. But fascinating nonetheless. If you had to remove scratches from a game disc, do you go to a store with a scratch removing device, or do you have your own home-based solution? Depends. Like, if we're talking about something that looks like I can clean it up with like a t-shirt or something, I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and get the disc resurfaced in a proper way. Sorry, did the connection just crap out? No, it looks like we're still going. Sorry. Yeah, I know I kind of went dead there for a second. It was just the stream timed out on my screen, so I was like, oh shit, did it die? Because that's the other thing. I only mentioned this once during the stream. I've been having internet issues lately, so I didn't know if the stream just took a shit and failed, but I guess we're still here. How much do you think Shenmue 3 needs to sell in order for Shenmue 4 to be greenlit? I have no idea, man. Only those guys know those numbers. Any games we could buy you that you just never could afford yourself? Let's not go down that road, but thank you. What games do you want them to add to the original Xbox backwards compatibility program? Also, do you think it's a rule that they need to be 360 compatible first? I don't know. I'm sure that's an internal rule, because then it allows for backwards compatibility across multiple platforms. So, like, one thing you might have noticed is they've given away some of the original Xbox games as Xbox Live Gold content. Mercenaries was one of them. I think one of the Star Wars games was on there. And if those games weren't 360 compatible, then you would not be able to download them to the 360 as part of that program. So I'm guessing for the sake of that type of convenience, they want only titles that were Xbox 360 compatible in the first place, which basically knocks off half the library from the get-go. So I can't remember which ones are which off the top of my head, but there's definitely more games for the OG Xbox I really wish we would see on there. The first one that does come to my mind, I know actually isn't 360 compatible, and I've said it a million times, but a game called Second Sight, I would love to see that made compatible, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. Though ironically, the PS2 version might become compatible with PS5 if that ends up being a thing. So, okay, apparently the stream did take a shit for a second, so that means we're probably going to start running into issues here. So, yeah, we're going to go for just a few more minutes, probably till 7:30 my time, and then we're going to bow out. So, again, last call here. And, again, don't forget to check the Twitter and do the contest stuff. If you could collect for Wii, GBA, or GameCube, what would the best option be? Oh, I would pick GameCube. Hell, absolutely. GBA... I enjoy, but I've got a set of games for it that I wanted, and I have not pursued it at all in any way, shape, or form in years. And then the Wii, I just do not care about. So, GameCube. If PS5 could play PS2 discs, that would make it the best way to play PS2 games on modern TVs, right? I would have to assume so, unless they do it like unbelievably badly. Because currently the launch PS3 is the best way to do that. So it would make sense. Any upcoming videos planned? Yes, my podcast will come out later this month. And I'm working on another video that I don't know exactly when that's going to come out. It's going to be about getting the best, here's a spoiler, getting the best video quality out of your Wii. Yes, really, I'm going to be doing that. And then I'm going to be working on another thing about disk resurfacing. Where am I flying to tomorrow? San Francisco. Is it just me, or does this console generation feel like it's still just in the early stages? Well, it's funny because it's not. You know, it's actually winding down almost to the point of being done. Like, next year is probably when we'll start seeing new hardware. That's how what happens when you get older, man. Like, the console generations just start feeling shorter and shorter and shorter. Opinion on the Ted movies. I only saw the first one. I thought it was okay. Never saw the second one. Is there any more than that? Is the launch PS3 the best way to play PS1 games? If we're talking on consoles, because I'm sure PC gamers will point out that emulation, etc., blah blah blah. PS3 is technically using emulation anyway. When I did my pound PS2 cable video, I actually was really impressed by how the PlayStation 2 can actually use PS1 games with the M cable to look, I would argue, actually better than the PS3. It actually stunned me how good that was. Oh man, disc resurfacing. This is going to be controversial. I hope you're being I hope you're being sarcastic, because it's like, wait a minute, is people actually going to get pissed about that? Like, why would anybody be pissed about that? Basically, I have a bunch of discs that do not work. I know they don't work, but I could theoretically get them. I can solve that problem with a real disc resurfacing. So I'm actually going to. I found a place that has that, and I'll be doing a video about it, just so people can see what that process is like. Because even in this video, we've had multiple people asking about how that works. So what the hell to make a video about it? Do I think Sega will ever jump back into the console market, i.e. make their own console? Absolutely not. Never in a million years. How do you prevent disc rot on Sega CD games? There's only so much you can do, because eventually it's going to happen regardless. The difference is, does it happen in your lifetime or not? If you keep your discs in good condition, you don't expose them to a lot of light, you don't expose them to a lot of moisture, you keep them in a cool, dry place, they should be fine, like, realistically. It's really only when you don't take good care of stuff where that is more likely to accelerate. Now, that said, disc rot's inevitable, but it doesn't have to be in a time frame that matters to you. Again, guys, the whole Sega Google thing, like, I think it's much to do about nothing. I've already talked about it, but basically, I think Google's making some sort of, like, crappy little Ouya type of thing, and I'm sure Sega just went, sure, throw a bunch of Genesis games on there and let's call it a day. I can't imagine it's anything more than that. If it is, I'll be stunned, but I can't, I don't think it would be anything more serious than that. Do you know you can wash a disc with toothpaste to get scratches off, right? I have actually done that before successfully, but it's an unbelievably temporary tactic, because it just kind of fills a crack a little bit briefly. So sometimes you can use that to temporarily at least extract data from a disk, but it's certainly not a permanent thing. It's kind of like when you took a PS1 and you turned it on its side to make it work. That'll help for a while, but it's not a permanent fix. Since you have a lot of consoles, how much is your electric bill? It's funny because it's not really that correlated. The assumption of that question is that I have all these consoles and leave them on all the time, which I do not. In fact, the console I use the most is the Xbox One X, and that's about it. Like, I'll turn the other ones on when I need to for any reason. But if you're asking me on like a day-to-day basis, that's the one I mostly go to. What do you think of the analog Sega MG? Will you get a review one? I think that those guys have earned the right, because they did the analog NT and all that stuff, the NES one. I think they've earned the right to be one of the few guys who can proudly say they made good hardware, good clone hardware. That said, I don't really have any interest in one, because I have actual Genesis hardware. I have it running through RGB and FrameMeister and all that stuff. Like, I have the infrastructure. It's not made for me. It's made for other people, and it's probably solid, but I have no real interest in doing anything with it. We'll probably, again, we're gonna go for another like 5 to 8 minutes, something like that. The internet has spoiled us so much that many people get on the bandwagon of new consoles without doing research. To be fair, it was always kind of like that. Like, kids always just picked a side, even when I was younger, just based on anything. It's human nature. People just pick sides. What do you think about the Rare Replay collection? Will Microsoft port it to other platforms? It was awesome to see the news about Halo collection coming to Steam. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you saw my Switch 2-year video. I largely talked a lot about the possible alignment of Nintendo and Microsoft. Now let's entertain for a second that actually has some merit, that will actually go forward. Then I could easily see the Rare Replay stuff hitting Nintendo's platform and Nintendo's only. If that does not happen, then ironically it probably could go to other platforms anyway. Because it seems true that Microsoft truly does not care if their stuff is exclusive or not. At least not this generation. Do I have pants on? I have shorts on, if that counts. The console side thing is, in hindsight, is embarrassing to remember. But you know what I'm talking about. There was the original PS1 was very poorly designed. The laser was too close to the power supply, so over time it cooked it. So a lot of times, even when the console was relevant, you couldn't play the games. You would just try and it wouldn't work. So what you do is you'd put the console up on its side, and gravity would kind of take over, and that would actually help spin the disc and get it running. And it would work, in the mid 90s, and up until like the late 90s, even early aughts. But I tried it again recently, and they're just dead as a doornail. That's what it is. They're just not well made. Who is the worst looking blue character, Sonic or the live genie Will Smith? Ooh, ugh. Why are we going there? I don't know. They're both really bad. Let's just put it that way. They're both really bad. Okay, again, final questions, guys. We're gonna stop here in a couple of minutes. Do you game in your living room or keep it all in separate to the game room? See, again, people think I have this like game room. No, my living room has the consoles that I use or could potentially use all set up with the television. And then like this is my office we're in here, and there's a couple of towers in here that have some games on them, and then there's other towers in other rooms. It's more about where does it fit as opposed to which room can be the game room. Which do you like less, Halo or Pokemon? What's in the cup? This is coffee, and this is water. I really didn't dive into the water at all. Should have, but didn't. I will have some water, though, because I haven't had enough. All right, guys. Absolute final questions time. Do not forget, there's a tweet in the description of this video. Click on it. Follow me. Follow Castlemania Games and retweet that tweet. You are entered to win USB Sega Genesis controllers, compliments of Castlemania Games. And yeah, that's the big contest. So hopefully you guys partake in it. I knew console history videos coming out soon. Yeah, people have been asking about that when the next wave of recap stuff is. To be honest, there is no like immediate plan. I actually have to figure out which ones I even need to still do because it's been so long since I've done any of them. But I want to do them. It's more about time. Oh, Carlos, perfect. There's also a link in the description to my Discord if you want to join my Discord. It's completely for free. Come on in, chat, hang out, whatever. That's in there. There's also the other social stuff: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon. All that stuff's there. Feel free, come on in, do whatever, come hang out. Are you using the same camera since 2000 whatever for your main channel videos? No. So the original camera I had was just a flip. I got that in like 2008, and I used it from like all the early stuff, the Keep Dreaming stuff with a fixed focal point for years. And I think it was like 2012 or 2013 I upgraded to the current camera I have, which is obviously comically out of date. But I just haven't been able to upgrade it. It is actually a Patreon goal, though. Do you think the OG Xbox and 360 backwards compatibility will carry into next generation? It would be moronic for them not to do that, especially because most of those things are digitized anyway. It depends entirely on how Microsoft handles their next generation, especially also if Sony does full backwards compatibility, as that rumor keeps persisting about. It would be insane for Microsoft not to carry over what they've already done, because you have to believe the only reason Sony's even that interested in this concept is because of Microsoft pushing backwards compatibility so hard. So for them not to carry it over would be even sillier. So we're going to go out here with one last question, and then we are done for the night. So again, go to the Twitter, enter the contest, do it, and then go to the other social things if you can. All right, let's do the last one. I like your facial hair. Seems very well kept. Not really, but thank you for being one of the rare few who would say that. Although it's because I do this all the time. Sorry, I'm just going to make sure we find the right type of question here. Something we can talk about for a minute. I don't even understand the premise of this one. Adam versus Metal Jesus. Who wins? Jason's an awesome guy. I would never want to be versus him on anything. I'm going to see him very soon in a couple of weeks. Cowlitz Gamers Convention for Kids. Come on out in Cowlitz, Washington. If you're in Portland or Seattle, that area, come on out. I'll be there, and most of the Metal Jesus Rocks crew will be there. All right, I guess we'll go out with this. When am I rejoining GSP? I'm not. I have no intention of that being a thing. I've decided to pursue other things, and we had a very amicable separation. I wish my cohorts the best there. I seriously do. I hope that they are very successful in what they continue to do. I'm going to be doing this, but I'm also pursuing other avenues, some of which are semi-public at this point, but I will talk about more later at some point down the road. But yeah, I'm going to continue to do this channel as much as I possibly can while also pursuing other things. So we'll just leave it to that. So I'm happy with that direction, and I really do mean it when I say I hope for them to have the best experience and continue to be that. It's not like we don't talk, man. Like, I'll still message them and stuff. Like, we're still friends. Like, I'm just not doing any work over there anymore. It's just how it goes. So I guess that'll be that. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. I also want to thank the admins for doing their job there. Giovanna's the only one I see in there at the moment, so thank you very much to Giovanna for being there like a champ. Thank you guys very much for watching, and thank you for the donations. This is the last warning, though, about the contest. There is a link in the description to a tweet. Go there. Follow me. Follow Castlemania Games. Retweet that tweet. You'll be entered to win some Sega Genesis USB cables provided by Castlemania Games. Winners will be announced, or drawn, I should say more specifically, and then privately notified probably tomorrow. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and have a good night.